Welcome to Open Tables. With your hosts, Cynthia Sue Larson.
That it's okay for everybody to change. It's okay to let things go. And that's really powerful.
Christopher Anatra.
The universe is based on commerce. You know me as the quantum businessman.
Jerry Hicks.
I feel like I've woken up in a parallel dimension where everybody's exactly the same. They look the same memories generally speaking, but they're different.
And Shane Robinson.
Nobody has all the answers, so everybody's welcome to share their ideas, and it really expands our consciousness when we do that.
Open Tables. Unique perspectives for a new view of reality.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the International Mandela Effect Conference Open Tables Mini Conference for September the 28th. Wow, how time has flown. It's great to be here with everybody. Great to see all of you here with us. Before we get started, of course, we've got a little bit of legalities to go through. Ladies and gentlemen, disclaimer. The content you are about to watch is meant for thought and consideration only. Please be respectful of each other and opinions shared. This is a safe space to express thoughts, ideas, and information. Please note that no copyright infringement is intended with regard to inclusion of short excerpts of material that are included in accordance with the fair use under Section 107 of the Copyright Act. Whew. And there we go. That is the quick legal talk. So much fun, right? Ladies and gentlemen, speaking of fun, we've got a fun-filled episode packed with incredible Mandela Effect information. It is the Mandela Effect Blues, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't have the blues right now because I've got my team here with me. Starting off with Miss Cynthia Sue Larson of Reality Shifters. Great to see you, Cynthia. Look at you.
Yep.
Next up, we have Mr. Chris Anatra, the quantum businessman. Ow!
Hey, everybody.
Look at him. And of course, you can't forget Mr. Shane Robinson, unbiased and on the fence.
Hey,
How you doing,
everybody.
Shane?
Doing wonderful.
It looks like we've all got the blues going on today.
Absolutely.
right.
We're the Blue Angels.
The Blue Angels. Ooh, that's going to make a lot of sense as we go forward, ladies and gentlemen. And go forward we shall, as we have a packed show today. So let us get started, and we can go around talking here in just a moment. Our agenda today, we have 10 sponsors, lots to go through, folks. We couldn't narrow them down because there's just so many amazing ones, as you guys will see. Then we're going to have our monthly updates from Miss Cynthia, Mr. Chris, Mr. Shane, and of course myself. Then we will speak about the Golden Mandy polls, ladies and gentlemen. We are about to change up and move to the next phase on that. We'll cover that here in just a moment. Then we're going to be discussing merging timeline experiences. Ooh. Have you guys been experiencing some craziness? Maybe. We'll have to see about that. California alligator farms? Wait, what? Yeah, I can't wait to dig into this. We got some strangeness, folks. Rainbows in reality. I wonder if we're going to have any blue. Maybe, maybe not. It is the Mandela Effect Blues, but once again, we're not feeling the blues as we continue into the Hopi Indian fifth world and the blue throat chakra. All right, sorry about that. The tongue decided it needed a second of a break. The blue throat chakra, there we go. Moving into something about angel wings. Maybe they're blue. I don't know. We'll have to see. Blue angel wings, perhaps. At least angel wings we will be covering. And then the Archangel Michael, one of favorites for many people I know. So one heck of a schedule today, folks. And because we do have so much, let's roll on into the next, starting off with our amazing sponsors. Our first sponsor today is the Irrawaddy Dolphin. So go ahead, team. Tell me a little bit about this Irrawaddy Dolphin.
I was going to say I'll start this, but this is really interesting because they were first spotted in 2012. They were never seen before 2012, and they've been known since 1852, but they never actually saw a live one. And there's currently, it's not like there's a few of them. There's like 6,000 of these Irrawaddy dolphins currently worldwide. And if you look at them, they look like a beluga whale, don't they? It's really interesting.
So 2012, what an interesting year. A lot of people think that that was a very key year when it comes to the Mandela effect. So it's interesting that these creatures, of all of them, would show up in that particular year.
I agree with that.
And the fact that it looks so much like a beluga whale means that it's surprising to me that it hadn't crossed my mind, or I hadn't seen it in all these years.
Yeah, and they're one of the most intelligent dolphin species. And how they hunt is really interesting. They squirt streams of water to herd the fish. So that's definitely very unique. So again, these are things that you think you would have heard about for a long, long time. But for a lot of us, the Irrawaddy dolphin is new on the timeline.
And someone pointed out, look at that cute little smile there on that one at the bottom. Thank you, Tyrell. Good to see everybody over in chat, by the way, real quick. Tasha, Bill Knight, Tyrell, Adamant, and Champy and Stampy, JoJo's, and Lizbeth Swin. Hello from Belgium. Hello, Lizbeth, excuse me. But back to the dolphin here. So the fact that they herd fish like that, that is really, really interesting, that they have that communication ability. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's super intelligent.
Now I think there's a whale that does that too, or some of the other whales herd fish with bubbles, but this is like a different kind of thing going on.
Yeah, there are so many different species of dolphins. You know, I remember like in my old timeline, we just had the gray Fraser dolphin. Like, that's a dolphin. It's gray and it's a dolphin flipper. But now I think there's at least 18 different species of dolphins, maybe more than that. Some are very colorful. Some are like yellow and black. So spotted dolphins, all kinds of really interesting dolphins that are out there. So here's yet another new one.
Kind of
And
like the shark from last month, the carpet shark, how many different varieties of even carpet shark there were. And I'm like, I never even heard of a carpet shark. And it's a whole sub variety. You know what I mean? I'm like, what the heck? So yeah, same thing. Just an abundance of life, it seems.
I would have called a manta ray a carpet shark, right? The way they float across the bottom of the ocean. I don't know. But speaking of many varieties of dolphins, our next sponsor also is one of those many variety of dolphins, the beaked whales. Yet another interesting creature. Very distinguishing feature is the presence of a beak, like many dolphins, right?
Yeah. And this one is interesting because it looks like a dolphin, but it's a whale. It's got that dolphin-like nose to it. Just like that previous dolphin reminded me of a beluga whale. Now we've got a whale that has a beak of a nose like a dolphin. So this is very unusual. I mean, to me, it seems strange. And then we've got the earliest known fossils. They go back, this is incredible. Millions and millions of years. So it's not like it was just known since 1892. There's no excuse for me not to have heard about this, basically. But it's new for me.
You know, Cynthia, you're not alone, because we're going to play a clip by a zoologist who the beaked whale. He's a zoologist, and the beaked whale was totally new for him. So let's play that clip. It's really interesting.
There. This is a whale, and so is this, and so is this, and so is this. Whales of the infraorder Cetacea are some of the most well-known and beloved animals on the planet. So I was very surprised a few years back when I discovered this, a 13-meter, 15-ton whale with the face of a dolphin. What the heck was this thing? And how could I have gone my whole life as an animal fanatic with multiple degrees in biology and zoology without noticing that these colossal stretch dolphins existed? What are they? And what other whales are out there that somehow had snuck under my radar?
See, he was Mandela affected. And he doesn't realize it. That's a classic Mandela effect right there for someone in that field.
So I always make the claim, okay, I don't know every animal. I'm always very careful to call certain animals Mandanimals. Everybody's known that. I've been very public about it because I'm not a zoologist. I don't know every animal. However, that was a zoologist. He's supposed to know the animals, right? That's his job. It really brings a whole new level of wow to it when even that person's like, no, I don't know what that is. Never heard of that before.
What else are you going to think other than, wow, it just somehow slipped under my radar? Did I doze off in class?
But, again, how many grains of sand do you need to build a beach? How many things just accidentally slip under your radar for you have to wonder, did I really miss it, or was it really there to begin with at all?
Right.
And isn't it interesting how the previous slide was about the dolphin that looks like a beluga whale, and now we've got a whale that looks like a dolphin. So it's like they're doing the old switcheroo somehow.
Right.
The only one that I knew that was a dolphin that looked like a whale was the killer whale, which they showed in that little clip we just watched. That was it. Far as I knew, that was the only one that was, a crossover type looking species between the whale and the dolphin.
Well, I'm still getting used to narwhals and pink dolphins for myself. So
narwhals, man, that's another one that just I can't.
And for a lot of people, they've always known narwhals are nothing new, and pink dolphins are nothing new. They've always known about that. So it's just how these timelines work.
Right. Heather, backstage, keep an eye for Cynthia. She did drop out there. Hopefully she'll be back quickly. White hummingbirds, our next slide, if you will. White hummingbirds. This is really weird. I've seen hummingbirds all my life. My mom used to have hummingbird feeders. We had them all over our yard. Even in Idaho, they had, where I stayed, had a lot of hummingbird feeders. I've never seen a white hummingbird. What about you guys?
I never have, and they're rare, but there's actually sightings of them that are happening all over the country. California, Ohio, Alabama. One of the clips we're going to play is from Missouri. So these white hummingbirds are, becoming a thing now.
Definitely new to me. What's that?
How about we play that first, at least that first clip, to kind of give us an idea. It's short, but it was something that was on the news.
Sounds like a good idea to me.
Rare white hummingbird has seemingly set up shop in the yard of a Carmi, Illinois family. Stephanie Penroyd sent us this video of the bird. Take a look. She says it showed up today, but has seemed to claim one of their 11 hummingbird feeders for itself. Experts say there are a few different types of white hummingbirds, including albino. This one, however, seems to be leucistic hummingbird because it doesn't have pink eyes. Experts say there have been about 40 reports of white hummingbirds in the U.S. this year, and only 3 other reports in the state of Illinois. Pretty cool. Thanks for sending that in.
By the way, Heather, we hear you clicking your mouse, so you might want to mute yourself.
Ladies and gentlemen, a rare sight. If you're watching live, Heather, our producer, hanging out with us for a second there. Interesting information there. So this is a very rare species, but of course, don't most things as they come into the timeline start out as something very rare and then suddenly grow?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's the case here. And we're noticing that this white hummingbird is leucism, not albino. And it's showing up in California, Ohio, Alabama, and was it Missouri also?
Yeah, the next video clip we're going to play is actually from a hummingbird. They named it Gary from Missouri. So We could play that. We could play that one. You still hear Heather's clicking.
You got to hear the video.
A few weeks ago in Washington, Missouri, a stranger came to town. He flew in for a sweet meal, not at the ice cream parlor on Main Street.
I see him now, and it's just, I just kind of wave at him.
But in Rachel Howler's front yard.
He's become a regular around here.
He is a hummingbird she named Gary. That's not Gary. Gary is a very special hummingbird.
I seen him fly past my head, and I was like really confused. I didn't know what it was. And I realized it was a white hummingbird. And I'm like, I was like shaking. I was like beside myself, cool.
She mounted this camera on her feeder to get video of Gary.
It's motion sense, so every time he came to the feeder here, he would get picked up by the camera. Oh my God, where's my camera?
Local photographer Tammy Elbert saw the video, and now Gary is a celebrity.
I got a lot of pictures, and it's something I'll probably never see again.
The Department of Conservation told me white hummingbirds like Gary are extremely rare.
You know, I don't know why he picked me or here, but, you know, I kind of considered it a good omen.
Soon Gary will be headed south for a warmer town.
I'm hoping he liked it enough around here to come back.
So Gary, don't be a stranger. Steve Harris, News 4.
Wow, that's cool how you could hear the wings.
Yeah, it's super,
Did you hear
super
how fast
cool.
that was when it flew up to the camera? That was pretty amazing, and it looked like an angel over there, didn't it? Some of the
It
footage,
did.
I'm like, wow, that's so angelic looking.
It's funny you say that because that's one of the spiritual meanings of seeing a white hummingbird or a hummingbird. Hummingbirds in general are the presence of angels
Wow, I
and
love
guides and loved ones that have passed on, you know, that type of thing, and overall love.
Well, could the rarity, if it continues to grow in sightings and become less and less rare, could that symbolize a purification going on, a changeover, a modification into the golden timeline, or you know, purifying the evils that tend to be in our lives around us?
Absolutely. Yeah, this seems like it's a quite relevant aspect of the white animals and birds and flowers and plants that we've been seeing. And like Chris, I agree with what Chris is saying. This really does feel like an angelic presence, a protective presence, and this theme that we may see more and more of them. I think that's what we're actually predicting. We're saying, yes, look for these. I'm looking for them here. I've got a hummingbird feeder, but so far no white ones, but I'll let you guys know. I'll try to get pictures if I start seeing white ones.
And I would like to point out again, this isn't albinism. This is Lucianism, right?
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
If it was albino, you'd see the little red eyes that are typical of albinism. And leucism is a different process, which seems really remarkable to me, because it seems like the albinism, the albinos, that was something everyone knew about, and you'd expect you'd see it in various species. But I've never seen so much leucism as we've been noticing these last few years.
Agreed. And you would think these creatures with the white would be seen around more snowy times or areas, because, you know, it's just something that, in my opinion, I pointed this out many times, it doesn't seem like that would be a good defense of nature to go to. Hey, look at me, here I am. You know, that bright white just seems to stand out. I don't know about you guys, it does to me.
It totally stands out. Like you see in ocean aquatic species, you'll see that they have white underbellies on a seal, for example, and then black on their top. And that coloration is protective. It helps them hide, you know, so they can blend into the environment. When seen from above, a predator would see their black back looking like the black at the bottom of the water. And then when seen from below, their white underbelly looks like the sky. But here we've got a bird. The predators for this bird would typically be hawks and other predatory species of birds, usually the only ones fast enough to catch a hummingbird. And white would not make sense unless the predator was coming from below. And hummingbird predators come from above. So you're right.
It's just really strange. Let me go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say these like white. This isn't the only white mandanimal we've talked about, right?
Of course.
I just wanted to add to that, like from the Akashic records and that type of viewpoint, the white animals are a sign of super protectors. So could it be that the white hummingbird is like a super protector of love or a super protector of purity, like especially in this time when we need it more than ever?
You're here.
Right. And we had a white redwood too, which is meaningful to me. And like all these white protectors, super protectors, they're here for us.
If one thing definitely needs to be protected, it is love, to keep us from feeling the blues, right, ladies and gentlemen? I know you guys are wondering, we're talking about white animals. Where's the blue stuff? I promise it's coming. What is one thing that chases hummingbirds? I know I've had a couple of them. They run around all day, sleep, and love chasing birds. Anybody have an idea what kind of creature I'm talking about?
Squirrel?
I think
A squirrel? I'm thinking a cat.
Darn. I
Squirrel,
was thinking
like
of blue
it.
squirrel, but I was close.
No blue squirrels this time, or maybe there is, we don't know. But
Oh,
no
no.
blue squirrels on this one anyway. We do have a blue cat. Chris, what is this?
Yeah, so this was like really personal for me. This is a type of Sphinx cat. And I actually have a Sphinx cat who's going to be about a year old now. And before I got a Sphinx cat, I did all this research into Sphinx cats. Like I tried to know everything I could about a Sphinx cat. I never knew there were blue ones. If I did, I might have been like, hey, I'll try to find a blue one. But there's a breed called the Russian blue, and it's a popular type of Sphinx cat, as it turns out. And to add a little bit of like interest to this whole story and the randomness and how like reality in the hologram and our dream can like react to us, I had somebody over my house that was fixing my freezer because one of my freezers broke. And, you know, he saw my Sphinx cat, whose name is Radames. He saw Radames and he goes, oh, I've had a Sphinx cat. I'm like, you did? He's like, what kind did you have? Oh, I had a Russian blue. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, my Sphinx cat was blue. And I'm like, and I had just learned about it, like literally like the day before I learned about the Russian blue Sphinx cat. So it's funny how in the past I would have been like, that's someone that's trying to confuse me to make it seem like it's not a Mandela effect, you know, whatever it is. But now it's like I appreciate when something comes into my reality and then someone else, it's always been in his reality. He's always known about it. So it was just like an amazing type thing. And then this, the horse on here, I think we might have talked about this before on another show, but another blue animal called the blue roan quarter horse, which is a horse that's blue. So you have a cat and a horse that are blue in just this one slide. Very interesting.
You know, and as we get on into the episode, this question will probably make even more sense. But Chris, you and I have been working on a solar theory for quite a while now. Could it be that the light being given off is just merely changing the output of the animal, the reflection of the animal's color from a grayish to a bluish, for instance, that we're perceiving more of a blue now than we would have been before, in other words?
That's an interesting theory. That's an interesting theory because I personally believe that as Earth's electromagnetic shields weaken and more light comes into the planet, like there's just more things that we're going to be observing especially as far as colors go. So that's a very interesting theory. And I know with all the solar activity and all the light coming in, like it only makes sense that there's going to be more and more of whatever Mandanimals, Mandela effects, etc. Like literally, I think for a lot of us are happening almost every day, like literally every day. We'll talk about that too a little bit later.
But surely, though, these aren't the only two blue animals. Of course not. That would be too easy. Next slide, please, Heather. How about a blue bee? Has anybody ever seen a blue bee? Now, I'm not a fan of bees. I'm sure most of our audience out here aren't exactly fans of bees either, let alone the fact that we need them to live. But I'm sure they aren't making friends with beehives as some of us do. But this here, a blue bee, what do you guys think about this?
Well, it's a Lazarus species too, apparently, because this species had been considered gone, extinct, and then it was rediscovered just in a couple years ago, 2020, in Florida, after it had been thought long gone. So it's not just a blue bee, but it's also a Lazarus bee, apparently. And it's new for me. I don't remember this. I didn't even really know that there were colored bees that were this ubiquitous as apparently they are. Apparently there are thousands of colored bee species, and not just colored, but all sorts of bee species. And I saw one in my garden, a green bee, just a few months ago, and that was remarkable. But then to see that we've had these blue ones too, and this sapphire blue, this really is beautiful. It just stands out like a jewel. So I would have thought that I would have heard about all these beautiful bees, but no, let alone that some had gone extinct. So it sort of pops into reality. And then I find out people had thought it was gone, and wow, the whole thing is amazing.
Yeah, and there's a concept too. Do bees fly or do they levitate? When you look at their little wings, is it possible that they're little anti-gravity machines and they're generating some kind of scalar harmonic frequency that actually allows them to levitate? So there's a whole other concept, because I've looked into like the wings of a bee and how intricate and how many different layers upon layers upon layers. So there's definitely something special about bees in general. And these blue bees are even more special.
Well, it goes back to the hummingbird we had a moment ago and the speed at which they flap their wings. Even the comment was made, listen to that sound in the camera. Could they even be doing the same thing? Because they move in ways that straight up defy physics. I mean, just because you got wings, the way they move is, you know what I mean? Perhaps they're on a levitation using some type of sound also.
Yeah, exactly.
And everybody knows I've got a very deep spot in my heart for these Lazarus animals, because I started making a list a couple of years ago, and the first year I was just mind boggled at how many had reappeared in a year. And as we've gone through and done these shows, we did a video last year, and there was another series that, again, I was mind boggled how many are reappearing in our timelines, which only goes to the idea that perhaps it is merging timelines, even though everybody knows my stance on theories. But perhaps you're right, Chris. Perhaps it is merging timelines, and these things are coming into our timeline, and we are like we've said before, they are rare or Lazarus, and they become rare, then they become threat, and then they become everywhere.
Yeah, like a compressing of timelines, contraction, expansion, contraction. Yeah.
Or converging, right?
Converging.
I think you wrote in that book, Cynthia.
Yeah, we're going to talk. We've got a slide for that today.
Okay, so, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Quit ruining the fun, man. There's no spoilers, man.
Dave just brings the fun.
Anyway, again, shout out to our crowd out there. Great to have everybody hanging out over there. They are chatting away.
I saw one thing in the chat. I'm actually following it today for a change. And someone mentioned dragonflies. So we've got a comment from Fo Q. I don't know how to pronounce that, but like dragonflies. Yeah. So we've got the bees, the dragonflies, the hummingbirds, perhaps levitating. Yes.
And this could be part of that new physics that Donald Hoffman was talking about as we continue to dig into the real science of things.
Amplituhedron, yes. And he was a guest on our show, season 2. So check it out if you haven't seen that one.
Yeah, Adam Ann says, I just saw a bluish bee yesterday, so they are in Cali too. So keep an eye out there. Cynthia.
Nice.
Definitely.
See, I've only ever seen black and yellow. That was the only color bees ever were for me.
Well, when I look at the picture on the left, though, I can totally see it maybe going through a phase where it might look a little more green, like what you saw there, Cynthia. Remember?
Yeah. Well, the one I saw was just pure green. It didn't have blue in it, and it was a small, kind of smaller than a honeybee. So some of these colored bees are solitary. They don't necessarily live in a hive like the honeycomb classic example of a beehive that we think of. So they might not be the same kind of bees. So they work maybe alone more than together, but that's okay. All bees are helpful.
Absolutely.
Definitely an incredible creature here. A blue bee, ladies and gentlemen, a Lazarus long lost blue bee. And this is interesting when you think about the sun theory that we just discussed, because perhaps it is a different color to our eyes. However, that doesn't work when you go to the bottom of the ocean and you find creatures down there that are also extremely blue. Next slide, please, producer. There we go. The blue sea star. Now, this is adorable. I don't even know what to say. Go ahead, guys.
Yeah, I think for like everybody that they've never seen a blue sea star or blue starfish before, it's like, wow, this is really interesting. And in the slide, it says it's one of the few blue animals whose coloration is caused by a pigment rather than by structural coloration. So that again makes it also even more interesting as well, that its color is caused by something that's rarely found.
And it looks like that kind of neon color from the 60s that was so popular. Like you'll see it in 60s clothing and 60s game shows. You know, the colors are just, they're almost blinding because they're so bright. It's like that. It's got a neon quality that just pops this color. It's really bright.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I was thinking, like, if you were a scuba diver and you came across that, you'd think a kid dropped their toy down in the water. You know what I mean? It's so brightly colored. Yeah.
And those 60s colors, I don't know this for sure. This is conjecture on my part, but I think possibly with all of the recreational substances that were being used at that time, people were noticing, they were going into altered states of consciousness. They were seeing the true colors of reality. That I've seen them without the drugs, but when I've seen them, the colors are like bluer than blue. It's kind of like it's the spectrum, but it's so much more vibrant. And this animal has that quality.
Yeah, I've noticed the same type. I've talked about something called the Lucia light before, and when you go under the Lucia light, a lot of times you see colors that are so like neon bright, like wow, like I never knew that blue could be so bright. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
And
I think
again, for this to be a
brought those colors in the 60s.
For this to be a natural pigmentation of the creature. So strange. Like Chris or like Shane said, it looks like a toy. The coloration just seems so off from a natural color that you see in nature. Except for maybe on a flower, or you know what I mean, but not on a sea star.
Yeah, you expect it for a creature that would be attracting, like a flower. I wouldn't think this sea star would be attracting, would want people to or animals to come here. You know, maybe it does, but I don't. It's surprising.
I don't know. Maybe it's so overboard that it doesn't look like a starfish. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that is just a kid's toy.
So predators will think it's a flower. That's a flower.
Right.
Interesting. Definitely. But again, the pigmentation, I can't get over that. We've seen this strange pigmentation thing going on in all these animals. The Lucian, that one. Just the many different pigmentations that we keep seeing coming to light are very, very, very interesting. Anything else you guys want to say about this one?
Well, it's got 5. This particular specimen has 5. Just make a mental note. Notice 5, because we'll be talking about 5 later.
Good point.
Ooh, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Keep that 5 in your mind and stay tuned. Moving on from 6 to 7 now. The blue iguana. So this is an interesting one. Go ahead.
I just want to say I never heard of blue iguanas before. They're always green in my old timeline. And it's not like there's a couple of them and they're rare. There's at least 443 of them that they know about. So it's a thing.
This was new for me too. Yeah, it's not something I'd seen before.
Very cool looking.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here. So we are talking about a lizard species. And as we know, a lot of them have the ability to change to a number of colors, like the chameleon being one of those creatures. So it doesn't fully surprise me that there would be a blue one, you know, as close to the greenish and blue is in the color chart. But but just the same, I've never seen or heard of one. So, yeah, I can also caveat it with that. Very interesting. And again, that green color, it makes you wonder if our perception, again, because they're so close in the color chart, isn't allowing us to now see a more blue opposed to a more green shade.
Like with the white sun, as opposed to what used to be for many of us a yellower sun.
Right.
That's interesting.
But it does have the Mandela effect quality about it, because it's like, it isn't just like our eyes just shifted and they started looking blue. It's like they've always been blue. So it's almost like a retrocausal effect to our eyes, right?
Ooh.
I mean, if it in that way, like that, you know.
Right.
Ooh, now that's a very valid and interesting point, Shane. That's a good one. That I don't even know what to say. That I love that you can drill holes in a theory. That's awesome. I can't explain that. You're right. The retrocausal aspect of it is very interesting, because the white sun, it only showed up recently within our lifetime. I say recently, relatively, like what, 2 decades ago, maybe, or so. Nobody's really pinpointed the date, but we can all agree it was at least a decade or two since we've seen our old yellow sun. So even if that, we know that from that point on, the Mandela affected sun would cause could cause a difference in viewing. But if they've been always back to day one, back to the one 215 million years ago, I think it was earlier, that does throw a little bit of a wrench into it, doesn't it?
But that also means that for us, the sun just changed within the last decade or two, but it's always been that way as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to get a headache if I keep going.
And you won't find any pictures of kids using the yellow crayon. You know, there'd be the white one that we're always like, "What's this one for?" Yeah.
Right.
It's
all
for
you
the
gotta do now
sun
is just draw a circle. There you go. It's the sun.
Yeah, have you guys noticed too that the sun, especially like at sunrise and sunset, is like real? Like, I'm seeing all kinds of interesting things with the sun.
The colors are just fantabulous.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, there's been a variety of color, not so much blue, but a lot of reds and oranges and crossover colors that I don't even think have names yet.
Yeah, but just a general iridescence always around in the sky now with the clouds and everything that can almost always be perceived at some level or another. I think me and Chris were talking about that a while back, that things are just way more colorful now, especially in the sky, than what we remember growing up looking at in the clouds.
We'll have some sky shots later too.
Yeah.
The blue in the sky is different to me too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's more washed out, you know?
Yes.
Well, that
And
goes
if
with
you
the white
wear,
sun. Yeah.
yeah, and if you wear like those what are those glasses called? The
red light?
No, just the sunglasses that are
polarized.
Yeah, polarized. Yeah,
Polarized,
exactly.
yes.
Yeah, you can almost get the sky completely black. It's almost like there's just hardly any atmosphere there when you look straight up with those glasses on, depending on how you're turned in relationship to the sun, because it cuts out the glare. But it'll almost remove the whole sky. So
Have you looked at the sky? This may sound strange. Maybe I've got some eye issues going on. I don't know. Have you looked at the sky and almost, not directly, but almost be able to see shapes of clouds, but when you look directly at them, there's nothing there?
yeah, I have noticed that. Like really faint clouds. I've noticed it even at
And not
night.
just wispy, but like semi, like, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Like I can see the outline of where a cloud would be, but when I move my eyes over to where that outline was, it's gone. There's nothing there. It's just sky.
Yeah. And the opaqueness of the clouds now. Sometimes you can get a cloud go in front of the sun and it looks like you got some going behind the sun and some going in front of it, because the opaqueness of the cloud is just so thick, you know. And some people say, they're like, how is the sun in the clouds? I'm like, it does look like it, but it's, you know, you can change your perspective and clearly see that's not what's happening. Or if you have like a time-lapse recording, you can speed it up and tell, oh, it's just an optical illusion. But it does look like it sometimes, you know, where it looks like some of the clouds go in front and some go behind.
Yeah, definitely clouds are definitely changing. Like clouds look different to me over the last year than ever before.
Yeah. We will have some cloud slides later too.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll call. We need to move on, right?
Yes.
We're getting caught up.
Our next slide here. This is an homage, in my opinion, to Eva over at Once Upon a Timeline. The reason I say that, if you've ever watched her show, guys, on a regular basis, you know she loves to find these creepy, crawly, crazy Mandanimals that just make my skin curl. This is one of those creatures right here. This is the Goody Sapphire Ornamental Tarantula, also known as the peacock tarantula. Okay, why you got to put two words together that just don't belong? Peacocks are cute and cool. This is a tarantula. Come on now. It's an old world, well-known species of tarantula found in southern and central India. Thank God he's not around here yet being the operative word. As cute as he is, it's a tarantula, folks. They live in holes of tall trees where it makes asymmetric funnel webs. Now, you guys have got to tell me a little bit about this asymmetric funnel web here. This sounds very intriguing. And only eats flying insects. Well, that's good for us, but I know the tarantulas do have a little human snack from time to time, too. That said, folks, blue tarantulas, tell me about this creepy diamond crawler in your opinion.
I've never heard of blue tarantulas before. And those
it doesn't have very good ability to blend in and camouflage itself unless it's surrounded by blue, but where would that be? So it's surprising.
And I think I've seen funnel webs before. Like, I think other spiders can cast a funnel web, and actually it looks like a funnel, and like their prey consists of various flying insects, maybe birds, I don't know, but flying insects. But yeah, very, very interesting. And it's an old world species. So people that are into spiders and tarantulas, I'm sure have known about this forever. This isn't a Mandela effect for them. But for some of us, it's like, I've never seen a tarantula that's so blue.
Me either. And the problem is it's pretty, right? Like, I love this color of blue. By the way, blue is my favorite color. To be clear, like every shade of blue, I absolutely love. So this episode, like I'm so enjoying this, but this creepy crawler, I hate that I find him so like pretty, you know.
You're like wanting to cuddle with it and stuff. Wasted Millennium.
Let's not go too far here.
In
I
chat
said he's
says,
pretty. I didn't say I wanted a stuffed animal of him.
Well, it's furry, you know. Wasted Millennium in the chat says, blue and yellow, a Swedish or Ukraine spider, eh?
Yeah, right.
Oh, now that's interesting, right? With all the things going on. Didn't even think about that.
And Tyrell
Course says cartoon universe. Yep.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, who let the kid have the blue crayon in the reality coloring book? Because he went a little nutty this time on the blue creatures. But definitely very, very strange creature. Anything you guys would like to add about this creepy, crawly creature?
Morris says spiders now have 2 extra appendages next to the fangs.
Really?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So if you count the legs, it looked like there were more than 8 things going on there. You're right.
Yeah, it does look like they got 10 legs now.
So it almost looks like 10. That's a very good observation.
Yeah, good observation.
Wow. Is that on all spiders? Or? Yeah, that's strange.
This is news to me. It's the first I've seen of it. And I was looking at it like it looks like an awful lot of legs. It's like 5 on each side almost.
Yeah.
Well, before I get some nightmares, let's move on to something a little less crawly and a little more pretty. How about the Isle of Man wildflower? There we go. Isle of Man rediscovered. They're the Lazarus creatures, ladies and gentlemen. As you guys know, I love our Lazarus creatures after 142 years. Team, go ahead. Tell us a little bit about this.
Well, this is basically, it's a member of the mint family, and it was discovered by a trust environmental officer, David Bellamy, and he was on a farm visit when he noticed it. So I guess it was quite a discovery, because for something to be gone for over a century and not been seen, and then have it rediscovered.
On
That's
the
just gotta
4th of
be-
July, nonetheless.
Yes. Yes, which is meaningful for those of us in America. Maybe not so much on the Isle of Man, but still, nonetheless, an auspicious date, new beginnings, freedom. And so it might have, like, if we look at the symbolism, it might symbolize freedom, and that's a good thing. So this just is brand new as far as coming back from extinction, and it's such a beautiful color too. So another Lazarus blue on this show. We've got two of them now: the bee and this beautiful flower.
That is amazing. 142 years, over a century and a half almost. This was just gone, vanished, and all of a sudden, it just happens to show up back in reality. How many
Like
times
Nelson
did that
Mandela.
Right. And Billy Graham, and how many times does this have to happen before we start saying, something going on? Like, I don't know, Mandela Effect, anybody?
Right.
It's so amazing that we keep finding these merging with older and older timelines, I could almost say, right? We have seen it go further and further backwards. Could that be the case that the timelines we're merging into have a deeper history or a less destroyed history than what we have had in our pasts?
This was also part of the Hopi prophecy as well. That I wrote a paper, an article, Comes True Being Hoped For, in Parabola magazine. And just at the end, I quote a passage from, basically Frank Waters' book, the Book of the Hopi. And he said, the Hopi believe we will see the signs of the emergence of the fifth world when life forms from previous worlds spring up from the ground, the stars, and our hearts. In the meantime, the Hopi are this living reminder that peace comes true when hoped for with open kapavi, that's the crown chakra, and open hearts. So the Hopi have been expecting these Lazarus beings. It was expected, it was prophesized. It was the indicator that you'll know that we're moving from the fourth world to the fifth.
And there's that 5.
Yes.
Right. And I do believe that the Hopi may have been onto something, because we have seen this, tracking this for quite a while. And once again, as Shane pointing out, we told you earlier to remember the number 5. There's our 5 once again.
Yeah.
And we will be digging even further into that, perhaps, as we go forward. And speaking of going forward, we go from the Isle of Man wildflower to yet another beautiful daisy. Why? No. Daisies are white. This ain't right. Somebody made a mistake. What is this?
Yeah, this one's interesting. This is called the Michaelmas daisy, which is as I'm learning, very common. Like they're literally found all over the world. And it got its name, the Michaelmas daisy, because it happens around the time of Michaelmas. And at an upcoming slide, we're going to talk about Michaelmas, because that's a big thing that I've never heard of before, but it has to do with the feast of St. Michael. So, yeah, I guess you can go to your local nursery and find these beautiful daisies. They're really outstanding with that beautiful, like, violet color that they have.
Absolutely.
Very, very, very pretty. And like you said, they're found around the world. It isn't just local to like one little area, and we wouldn't have known about this, right?
Exactly. And they prefer full sun. I mean, they can grow where it's shady, but they really like a bright, sunny environment. They like the sun.
And we can see them at this time of year, apparently. So it's right now.
Exactly.
Perfect.
And albeit purple, it isn't far off from that very, very pretty blue color that we've been seeing in all these animals. And I dare say a deeper shade of blue would be purple, right?
Yeah, that's right. Kind of moves up this spectrum.
The violet.
Yeah, until we saw this the subject, I don't think I'd seen them before, but I saw them nearby near the woods near my house in an open area. Apparently these are wildflowers, but I've never seen them. And then this year, they're springing up here in California. And I think that's wild. So it's kind of like when Chris says, never heard of a blue sphinx cat. And then someone's talking about it and the whole thing exists.
Exactly.
And I've never seen these flowers, and now they're right near my home. Like I can go on a walk out the door from my house, and there they are. I've never seen them before.
And it's not being like you're not observant. You're observant of these things. Like this jumps out at you, a daisy that's this violet color. So
exactly. And I take pictures of flowers, and I've never taken pictures of them before, but now they're here.
Awesome.
Hey guys, you want to impress your girlfriend? Go take a walk and find some of these Michael Moss wildflowers, wild daisies. Right? She's going to love them and wonder how you found purple daisies. There you go. Then you would explain to her the Mandela Effect and where you heard about it right here at IMEC, ladies and gentlemen. And speaking of IMEC, we have had a lot going on this month. That is all 10 sponsors that we have made it through. I can't believe it. We have finally made it through.
I think we wanted to play a video, though, didn't we?
We
absolutely
did.
yeah because
I apologize
when we were talking about angels and then we were talking about the blue, it reminded me of Angel Aowen's YouTube channel and how she actually covered the blue wave back in, I want to say 2018.
Yes.
And she actually covered a rainbow wave and a white wave as well, but I thought it'd be a great place to let people know about her YouTube channel. She's got a lot of great Mandela Effect information on there and research and videos that you can check out. And she actually contributed back when
2020, I think.
Yeah. And that we had that compilation of different people from the community that Moneybag's son put together, right? Wasn't it?
Yes, Evan McRae Jr. Yep,
absolutely. So and she's no stranger to a lot of you guys, but for you guys that don't know, we wanted to play this little clip about the blue wave.
Yes.
From Angel Aowen.
Guys, Angel Aowen here with the Angel Files. So we've got a blue video for you today. All things blue with some curious connections. This tarantula was miraculously found in 2017. So the article goes on to say, it appears the discovery is a new species of tarantula no one ever knew about before. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Welcome to the Mandela Effect. We've been waiting for you. So this little fella was discovered 130 years after it went extinct. A blue sea slug called the blue dragon washes up on an Australian beach in 2015. Here we have a newly recognized fish called the blue bastard because it is apparently a bastard to catch. Well, it's not exactly small. Tony the tiger's nose turned blue. Many people remember seeing his nose being black. And the flying monkey is now red and blue, but many recall red and black. This one is fairly new. What is questionable here is the O with the long arrow and the way the two H's are connected. Now, even I remember this one. I was a huge fan of The Who, especially during Quadrophenia and Tommy era. I remember the arrow of the O being a lot shorter and the H's not even being connected at all. A sugar load of blue jellyfish wash up on American beaches this time in 2015. There is not a lot known about this guy except for him being blue and very caring. It actually says in one of the articles, the Socotra Island blue baboon is a relatively rare and new tarantula to the trade. There is also very little known about this 9-inch monstrosity, except that he is aggressive, highly venomous, and moves as quick as lightning. Uncle Sam's hat lost its stripes. The return of the blue iguana from near extinction to endangered. Brown moor frogs that turn blue during mating season. Each year, Antarctica gets a visit from clouds that shine a brilliant electric blue. These clouds, called noctilucent clouds, light up the sky during the summertime for the South Pole. NASA recently released footage from its AIM spacecraft, which observed the first noctilucent clouds of the season on November 17th. Really, how long has NASA actually been observing Earth from space? And we've never heard of these clouds because... This brings us on to the final blue item in this video, the blue pill of the Matrix. I couldn't actually remember which pill Neo took in the film. I couldn't remember which pill signified the truth, so I looked it up. And according to the internet, Neo took the red pill, and the red pill signifies the truth and the blue pill signifies lies and deception. I then discovered that some people remember differently, that the blue pill was the truth. So the question is, has the blue pill and the red pill in the Matrix been Mandela affected? Many changes seem to be coming in waves. We had a rainbow wave where many animals were suddenly appearing with rainbow colors, plants, landscapes, and then I noticed a blue wave, hence this video. It got me thinking about whether this is some kind of sign. So, which is the truth? I then realized that actually it doesn't matter what the blue pill or the red pill mean. It's all about perception. Could it really be this simple? Are we creating our own realities through our own perceptions? If we look at Schrödinger's cat, the idea of something being in two possible states, and it is only at the moment that we observe it does it become reality. We then perceive that as reality. If we believe something exists, then it exists. It becomes our reality.
A little bit of overlap there, but yeah, you can see the whole blue wave, in other areas as well. And that hat there was a couple in there that, weren't animals, but that's pretty trippy about the hat on Uncle Sam's hat losing the stripes.
I thought so too, because when I used to see the hat the way it is now, I thought that was the old version of it. Like, oh, that must be some really old prototype before it really caught on. That's what I thought. And then I came to find out, no, that's the way it's always been. And then Tony the Tiger's nose.
Right.
I mean, no way was it blue, because I had a poster of Tony the Tiger up in my bedroom. I don't know why, but I really liked Tony the Tiger for a little short phase. Did not have a blue nose.
I know some of us before the internet, when we would pour a cereal, like we would stare at the cereal box, and read everything on the side of the box. So he didn't have a blue nose. That's ridiculous. Like, add my little 2 cents to that.
And it was very observant. She points out the rainbow wave that we had, and then now we have a blue wave. I would like to point out that we should take a look at rainbows, perhaps we may later, and see the color pattern or series in which they go. What color comes after blue, and perhaps that could be the next wave. If so, that we may be onto something, ladies and gentlemen. That would be very interesting to find out. Morris says... I turned blue during mating season 2. I'm with you, Morris. I am right there with you, my friend.
and what's really funny is just today I was on the way back in the car and I heard this new song and I was like, man, that sounds familiar. What song is it? And it was a remake of that blue song. It was the melody from that old EDM blues song, I'm blue. Da, da, dee, da, da,
Yeah, okay. I was wanting to make sure that was the one you're talking about because it's been in my head ever since we started discussing this in the email string. Right.
So I was wondering why it was so familiar when it came on. So the new song is like, I'm good. Hey, I'm feeling all right, or something along those lines. They don't say anything about blue, but the melody was there. And I'm like, what is that? And I almost felt like the universe was winking at me. It's blue,
iPhone 65. That's who that was. I'm blue.
Yeah.
And isn't it interesting? I was going to say, isn't it interesting too how that video that she did was from 2018?
Yeah.
So that was from a while ago, and there was a blue. So people were in a frequency where they were picking up the blue wave then, and then for a lot of us, we're picking up the blue wave now. So I'm happy to finally be in the blue wave. So yay.
Elizabeth Sween. I apologize if I murdered that last name. I really sincerely apologize. That would be indigo after blue. So let's keep our eyes open, folks, for the indigos next. And the indigo, as we know from a lot of our research, I'm sure, could get into the indigo children and the rainbow children, and we could do a whole episode on that, and may very well one day, right?
The third eye, yeah.
It sounds like something that's definitely up Cynthia's aisle. Cynthia, how's your month been?
Yeah, it's been great. I published this month's newsletter. I'm just going to hold up a little copy to remind me that a song came out that I was working on with a couple of songwriters, and it's How Good Can It Get? It was co-written with me, Lisa Vivian, and featuring Caleb Jose. And if you go to my website, realityshifters.com, click on the September issue, then you can see the link to it, play the song. It's on YouTube. I may have mentioned it on my YouTube channel also. The other big news is I'm getting ready to be participating in a free money event. Money is Creative and Divine. And again, the link to that, if people want to bring more money into your lives, it's going to be all about that with a number of experts sharing tips and free pointers. So it's fun, it's free, and it helps you, enhance the prosperity in your life. So those are my big news items. And then I've always got lots and lots of Mandela effects and reality shifts every month. And this month has been really busy, but we've got a slide for that. So I'll be sharing some of that there.
And where can people find your work, Cynthia?
Oh, that's realityshifters.com. And then I've got a YouTube channel too. If people just prefer YouTube, then I think that link is in the description right here on this video down below, as well as to you guys' channels.
Hey, congratulations to yourself and Lisa Vivian on that new song. I have heard it, folks. It's a great song. I got the pleasure of speaking with Miss Vivian a little while back. Absolutely awesome. Really great person. Really great song. So please do go check that out. Cynthia, been a busy girl this month. Always great to have you here, Miss Ma'am. Next up, I'm going to put myself last on this list. I know our list has me going next, but I'm going to go ahead and take the end one. Mr. Christopher Anatra, how are you doing this month, sir?
Good. I think I'm as busy as everyone else is this month, especially. My biggest thing is that last week I released my latest light language video. It was about opening the heart. And, the heart is probably one of the most important parts that of ourselves that we need to open to keep advancing in a positive way, especially with everything that's going on. And I talk about all these different subjects. I kind of go through these different subjects and talk about the design of the heart, the mitochondria of the heart, and because the mitochondria that are in all of our cells are what really powers us. And in the Star Wars universe, they called it the midichlorians. It's basically another life form. They have their own DNA that's inside of us that lives with us and gives us the power of the force, so to speak. So I was able to, I released that. And part of that whole light language activation was a team effort. It was created, basically what's happening is a collective is being formed. Everyone that's watched it and goes through the process and agrees to it, their higher self or divine self puts them in a collective with all of us to better learn how to open our hearts and allow bliss to come in and bliss to flow. And for a lot of us, we've had heart walls, we've had deep sorrow in our lives, all these things that block us from bliss. And then as I've been learning, as this collective is growing, there's probably about 1,000 so far people that are in this collective. It goes even deep. It goes past lives get involved. Galactic history, like where we were before Earth, that gets involved. So it's becoming like a very deep thing. And I always, for this one, I put a caution out so that if you watch it, one of the things that might happen is you might get a somatic release. So it's just one of those things, you have to let this stuff go. You have to let the sorrow and negativity go so that the bliss can start to come in. So it's a process, and I invite everyone to watch that. So that's my biggest thing that I'm very proud of that I released last week. So.
And if you guys haven't watched the Symphony of, what's it called, Chris?
Symphony of Realities. Yeah.
And where can you find the Symphony of Realities, Chris?
On my Quantum Businessman YouTube channel. So just go to YouTube and type in Quantum Businessman and you'll find it. The light language, I started something called Quantum Blissnessman. So when I do my light language, I'm changing it. I'm not going to start another YouTube channel, but you'll see Quantum Blissnessman. And then when I do my regular stuff, it'll be Quantum Businessman.
So it's not a typo if that's what they're reading, thinking, well, what the heck does he mean here? Did he accidentally put the wrong word? It's not a typo, right?
No. Let's get down to blissness.
I love it.
I love it. Also, quantumbusinessman.com, is that correct?
And also quantumbusinessman.com. Exactly. Thank you.
Absolutely. International Mandela Effect Conference has shared that over in the chat on YouTube. Guys, make sure you follow that link. Stay up to date with all of the amazing, important, and intriguing information Mr. Chris is putting out on a regular basis. You guys know him as the Quantum Businessman. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Shane Robinson, Unbiased and on the Fence. Shane, tell me about the name of that person we just watched. Once again, it was brought up in chat. Repeat her name for us, and then how has your month been, sir?
Angel Aylwin. And I think we have the link down there, or we'll add it.
Should be in our description box below. If it isn't, it will be very soon.
Okay, yeah. Because, it's kind of a hard one to remember. But, yeah, it's been a great month. I've been really doing a lot of music on my own time and playing games with my kids, but doing sessions, a lot of sessions, one-on-one, and really getting back into it. It was great to hear you talk about the heart activation. I haven't seen that, Chris, so I need to go check that out because I love those videos. But that's, we're seeing like we've had connections. The people I work with see that we've had connections for many lives, and we've been at this for a while. And many of us go back to Egyptian times or even Atlantis in many cases where we've been playing this game, so to speak, and there is a long game at work with just soul development and things like that. But we do this on purpose to have a blast. It's like an adventure. And I really am beginning to open up to that higher way of seeing things too, the whole adventure of it all, because we can get caught up in the chaos of it all. And that's one thing I really like. I was saying this off the air about our group here, our little dream team is like, we all have kept a hold of that sense of adventure. What's this about? That and being open-minded to keep on trolling on through. So that's really what I've been up to, just helping people one-on-one and doing music, and that's pretty much it. Finding my bliss and my blissness, personal blissness. Bliss. Yeah,
and where can everybody else find your personal blissness, or I should say your work on the internet, sir?
Well, the link to my YouTube channel is below, or you can just find me on uotf.net.
uotf.net, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Shane Robinson, Unbiased and on the Fence. And I second what he just said. This team is absolutely incredible to work with. I know I don't brag very often. Yeah, I do. I can't get over how amazing it is to hang out with and work with every last one of these amazing folks every month. We are in constant communication on the daily. It's so much fun to work these shows out, and the conversations we have behind the scenes and the way we all flow together. And I could go on rambling for the next 10 minutes about how incredible this team is, probably the next couple hours. So just know that I'm so very thankful for every last one of y'all, and I'm sure I echo the sentiments of each one on this incredible team as we take this incredible journey. And of course, last but not least, Jerry, how has your month been? Well, thanks for asking. It's been absolutely it's been absolutely awesome. I've had a great month. Nothing's went wrong, so I guess that's good, right? I have had a couple people I need to shout out. My friend Jonah, person I see on the daily. I told them recently about the show, and they last night subscribed to the channel. So they said they'd be watching today. Shout out to you, Jonah, as well as Caitlin, an Uber driver that I met the other day, who also was very, very intrigued with everything. So they also subscribed to the channel. Quick shout out to those two and everybody around the world, whether you are listening live or, of course, on the replay. We are so glad to have you here. I, of course, do the Dark Wolf's Den radio show. We have stopped the Thursday night shows for the holiday season, and we'll only be stop the Wednesday night shows, and we'll only be doing the Thursday night shows right now over on Rippin' Common Sense Radio at the rippinrabbithole.com. For those that are interested, it is RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. You're going to find our radio shows we do over there. Like I said, we were doing twice a week. We're down to once a week for the holiday season, and we'll pick back up next year. You can also find me at the Dark Wolf's Den Show on YouTube. I haven't updated there in quite a while, as I'm not exactly using YouTube for censorship reasons. You can take what you will on that. And we are also on BitChute and Rumble. Just go check us out there, guys. We're so glad that you guys love hanging out with us each week as we do our shows. We are doing Freedom Talk Radio right now, opposed to the Paranormal Talk Radio, as it seems fitting that we cover certain things in this day and age. Of course, we can't get into that on this show as reasons. But anyway, folks, what we can get into is the polling for the Golden Mandy survey. So we have reached the next level. You guys have spoken and made it very clear who you would like to nominate for the Golden Mandy. The next round we will be starting. It ends this round tonight at midnight. California time, because that's the last time in the U.S. So midnight Pacific time, it will be ending. And we will be going into the next phase. Survey Monkey link in the YouTube description. Thank you, producer Heather. And we will be going to the next phase where we will be putting up all your nominations, and you guys now get a round of voting. We want to hear from you. Who of the nominations that will be put up do you want to receive the Golden Mandy? And we don't have those readily available. I wish we did to go through. That's something we probably should have thought about beforehand, but there's so much of this episode we ran out of time. So keep an eye out on the IMEC.world. That is IMEC.WORLD, as well as SurveyMonkey /r/6178W5G. And we will be, figure that one out. 5G. I don't like 5G in there, but it's just a code. Anyway.
I should say real quick before we get too far that we do love you, Hawaii. So we didn't forget about you with the time zone thing.
Yeah.
Wait, are they the last time zone?
Yeah, Hawaii is the last time zone, 3 hours different than California. Yeah.
I stand corrected. Thank you, Shane. My apologies. I thought it was in. Okay, so apparently Jerry and the math aren't good friends anyway, but I thought it was like more in line with California. I was wrong. All right. Sorry, Hawaiians. I love you guys. I swear to God, I do. I want to visit the island someday. Please don't be mad at me. Would anybody like to add anything before we jump into the rest of the episode?
No, let's go. Let's...
You might want to add a disguise before you go to Hawaii now.
That's very true. That's okay, though. See, if you've ever seen my Facebook, I'm a man of many faces, so it doesn't take long. I look completely different than I did like 2 years prior, so it'll take a little while to change up the face. It'd be good to go. You're right, because they're going to be mad at me that I forgot about their time zone. They're going to whoop me the moment I get there. The volcano gods are going to lose their minds, right?
Cancel.
It's okay.
So anyway, you guys get an extra 3 hours because we're not going to forget about Hawaii.
There we go. So the last time zone in America will be at midnight. We'll be ending that, and the new ones will be going up tomorrow. So, with that said, hopefully we can merge into a timeline where Hawaii is a little closer, and I don't forget about them next time. I can include them into California. Speaking of merging timelines, seems the group has been noticing some very strange goings on this last month that could suggest that we are noticing timeline merges. What's going on, guys?
I'm seeing all kinds of stuff. And Shane, I think you mentioned something like stuff's just been nuts lately, and I'm seeing that too. Like I've always, for more than 20 years, I've seen daily reality shifts. That's not new for me, but now they seem even wild by my standards. I'll glance at an email and I'll see that someone said this time definitely does not work for me. And I'll think, okay, whatever. I'll glance back this time. Now it says this time definitely does work for me. And that's not that big a thing, but then there have been bigger ones. This particular picture we're looking at is an image that I describe in this book that I'm holding up. I was participating with a bunch of other authors, including one that's new for me, Dolores Cannon. And she was a contributor to a couple of chapters in this book. I contributed one, but what's interesting for me personally is I was not really aware that much of Dolores Cannon, so she's new for me. But here we've got an overlap because before the show, I think it was Shane pointing out that Dolores Cannon and myself are Mandela effects for a lot of people. And usually, how did you say this, Shane? It's like if they know one of us, they haven't heard of the other.
Oh, I was just saying that Dolores Cannon was like a spirit guide, and you're like a living guide for me.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, popping in on the scene, yeah.
Okay. Well, this disproves the Clark Kent Superman thing because we're not the same person in different realities. We were both contributing to the same book, so that's fascinating. And then what I share in this book is a chapter about when consciousness changes the physical world, and it goes with the illustration here. Just that I once had a lucid dream that I was looking up at the sky, laying on the beautiful green grass, looking up, and I saw an earth in the sky, which sort of startled me, and it made me aware, oh, I'm awake in this dream. And then I saw there were many earths, and they were just slowly kind of coming together, converging. So it was a very visual illustration of timelines merging, just that this is the time of all of this coming together. And that was before 2012. So many of us notice these things ahead of the time. It's not like everybody's all experiencing the same exact Mandela effect at the same time or the same experience. But I think a lot of us are noticing that in a very gentle way, things are kind of ramping up, shall we say.
So I would like to touch on, I just stepped away when you brought this up, I guess, about you and Dolores Cannon. So there's this split in the community that I have found. Half the community don't remember you, think you're a Mandela effect, but they very well remember Dolores Cannon. The other half remembers you quite well, but has never heard of Dolores Cannon until the Mandela effect. So I'm in that group. I had followed your work, of course, for many, many years, but I had never heard of Dolores Cannon. So it is strange that you show up in that book. And it's also really weird how the community split right down the middle. And I will be right back, folks. Forgive me, pardon me, just one moment.
Oh, okay. It was Jerry you were thinking of.
No, Jerry, this is super cool that Jerry mentioned that because, again, we're both in the book. So if anyone's thinking, well, Dolores says there are going to be two Earths and one splits off. In other words, she's in the good one. We're both in good ones and we both come together. So don't worry about it. Nobody needs to panic if you think, like, am I in the wrong Earth or whatever? Don't worry about it.
A lot of people feel like that at first, they're like, I just want to go back to my universe.
I know. Yeah. Common reaction.
Mm-hmm.
So Shane, you said that you'd had a lot of these like timeline merging things that you're noticing lately too.
Absolutely. Yeah. It started with clients discussing things, like maybe memories that, kind of popped out of nowhere, but it seemed like, like, did I dream about that or what was it? So I had a similar thing where I had a dream about a townhouse one night, and like it was fresh in my memory when I woke up. And I was like, what's that dream of that place I had last night with this townhouse in it? And then it was like, I can remember living there. Now, I never actually lived there. So it was like I was remembering another life, right? And I could remember different things about it. I was missing certain parts of it. It was just really faint. But I can remember living in this townhouse. I can remember loving to go out back and look at whatever was back there. I don't know if it's a lake, a pond, a beach, or whatever. In my mind, I know I love to go back there and look, but I can't place what is actually back there, So, but it's and then I wonder, like, is that a place we looked at that we thought about moving when we went to Georgia? And maybe like on another timeline, we did actually move there. And, I really don't know, but it was, I hadn't had a lot of memories like that felt so much like a different lifetime's memories coming through. So that sort of thing.
I'm so glad you bring it up that way, because I feel like I remember Shambhala. I feel like I was there. I know it's a mythical place, and yet at the same time, it's very real. But I feel like that's where I'm from. I feel like, oh, that's my place. Finally, And it's like a state of mind. It's in our heart. It's also real. And it's just amazing when you get this strong personal sense. And then you had something else, Shane, about a mirror on your car parking. I don't know if you want to share that one.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. So I was pulling in the garage, and, I just kind of looked over at my mirror to make sure it was going to clear the edge of the door. And I had this alternate memory come through of docking a spaceship. But instead of it like being like, oh my gosh, I have this memory of, being on this craft in space, docking the ship. It was actually reversed. It was like, oh my gosh, it was like, I thought about coming here and I'm actually here now. So it was like more excitement about the Earth aspect that I'm actually in. So that was a weird thing. That was like, it made it stand out as not just being my imagination. Do you know what I mean? Of like something that sort of just pops into your mind, but it was like something real that was really there, like a little bit of a memory seeped through. So, yeah.
I just wanted to say too, Shane, that your story about that dream that you had about living in the townhouse, I think that as these timelines are merging, like these types of things will, like, I'll give you an example. I think people might even say they remember us for doing something and we're like, we've never done that before. Or people would say, didn't we have this conversation before? Or didn't you live here before? Like, I know you from there. So I think like that experience that you're having that was revealed in a dream to you is going to be happening more and more and more. And I'm finding these timeline things like literally all the time. There's when I drive into work, it's funny, there's this one house, I swear, like the paint is all peeling off of it. And then like a week later, it's freshly painted. And then the paint is peeling off of it again. And I'm like, what? Today, when I drove in, there were painters outside scraping off all the excess paint. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but one timeline it's painted, the other timeline the paint's falling off. And I had an experience at my house. Well, I had this, I sometimes I subscribe to this channel about naval history, and they were talking about Project Neptune and Project or Operation Neptune and Operation Overlord. And I'm like, what is this Operation Neptune and Operation Overlord? I've never heard of this before. It's basically what Operation Neptune was the code name for D-Day, which I had never heard before at all. Mm-hmm. So, and they were showing pictures of it, and there were all these blimps. Like when they invaded Normandy, there were blimps everywhere. And I don't ever remember. It's like, I love airships and that type of thing. I never remember any of that. And so I had somebody like that came over that was visiting the house, and we're talking about Mandela effects. And I'm like, are you familiar with like all the blimps the Navy had, during the D-Day thing? And he went into all the history. He's like, yeah, they tethered the blimps to the ships so the German fighters couldn't do blah, blah, blah. And then, and it turns out the U.S. Navy has a fleet of these K-class blimps they would send out to do surveillance. And so all this stuff, but it was just funny how he knew all the intricate details of it. So somebody I never met before, we're talking about it. It's like the blue Russian Sphinx.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, so it's like, it's really interesting how these things start to happen and how these timelines are collapsing. And for me, it was brand new. And as it turns out, there was this big movie in 2018 called Operation Overlord, which was all about the D-Day invasion. It was made by Bad Robot or one of those big production houses. So I'm like, I obviously missed that movie too. So yeah, all these things constantly. It's not stopping.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting how we kind of go through these phases, though? Like in your instance with this, and then the blue Russian cat. Just having something at first, you feel like you're being targeted, right? I mean, at least when you first start seeing this stuff, you're like, wait, is somebody messing with me here? Is this like the Truman Show?
Yeah.
Right? Am I getting punked? Right?
Yeah.
So you kind of have that feeling about it. And then you feel like, somebody trying to fool me? And then you think, oh, it's got to be my mind. So you see enough to think, it's my brain doing this to me. But then at some point, it's almost like the universe is winking at you. So it's like these different stages you go through of, seeing this weird stuff, and then seeing these weird synchronicities. It's like, clearly, why would that person come across your path in both instances, like right after, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Have you guys noticed
thing?
Have you guys noticed an uptick in synchronicities this month?
Yeah.
Always, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have noticed it myself. A large amount of synchronicity seem to be happening around me quite often lately.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It seems to be constantly increasing for me.
And they're all important. They're all signs. Like I like how you said, Shane, the universe is winking at you.
Yeah,
I like that.
That's how it feels sometimes, It's like, here I am,
You're on the right path, kid.
Right. I don't know how many times I look at my phone at 101 when something funny is happening. I feel like it's the universe putting LOL. I'm like, oh, 101. That's funny.
I'm never going to look at 101 the same again.
Yeah, you'll get it. Yeah.
The universe laughing at me. I get the numbers a lot. The 1, 2, 3, 4, the 11, 11, the 4, 4, 4, the 3, 3, 3, all those.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Wasted Millennium, I had to throw this in real quick, says, universe is winking at me with IMEC today with the whole 5 thing. Like I said, math in school today, I taught the kids about the number 5.
It's a big deal for us today. Yes.
How incredibly synchronistic is that, right?
Yep.
And I know that we have quite a bit more to discuss here. And let us get back to the next slide, folks. Knowing. So, Chris, the very old Star Wars, one of the original, if not, one of the original Mandela Effects is Luke, I am your father. And I literally, right after we got done discussing this in an email, got a notification on YouTube that somebody had commented on my Jiffy video. I know that it was Luke, I am your father. And that wording specifically was really insane because, Chris, tell us about the word no in this particular usage.
Yeah, so I find the whole concept of our language, well, light language is a big part of it, but our language can create our reality. So that's something that people should keep in the back of their minds. And sometimes words have the same frequency, but a different meaning. So a lot of people have tried to read into what does it mean? Like if there are hidden meanings in Mandela effects, what's the hidden meaning about no, I am your father instead of Luke, I'm your father? And I just wanted to point this out as another possible perspective. But the word no, N-O, sounds just like the word K-N-O-W, to know or have knowledge of something. So if you were to start to understand that part of it, and then I was looking at the actual script for Star Wars when Luke says this, the word no, I actually have it here up on a tab. The word no is said 7 times. So Vader says, no, I am your father. And then Luke says, no, that's not true. That's impossible. And then Vader says, search your feelings. You know it to be true. And then Luke goes, no. So there's a lot of knowings in that particular part of Star Wars. And, when you read into that, it leads to other things as well, like other things that you can start to find. And that has to do with our identity, what is our true, who is our true father, all those types of things. And then I won't go into all those details now, but at first, Luke, he jumped off the platform. He wasn't very happy with that knowledge. But then later on in Return of the Jedi, he saves his father. That was how the ending was. So he didn't like to know the true history of who his father was, but he came to peace with it. and then it was resolved. So there's different things like this you can read into. And yes, I just wanted to point this out because like we use words and language like this all the time. So there's this woman named Laurel Erica with an A, and she's made these really interesting videos about this. So like, for example, when you say good morning, like you're saying good morning, like mourning at a funeral. So you're telling someone to, have a good day being sad all day. So, and there's so many words like that. Like the word pray is like when you're gonna pray, or like pray to your God, or are you prey like the hunted, like a hunter will look for its prey. So there's like all these double meanings of words, including like the word adult. Like that's one of my favorites, where if somebody says act like an adult, do you know what adult is? D-O-L-T, which has the same thing. That means
adult.
Yeah, it means like you're an idiot. So like act like an idiot. So yeah, there's all these meanings in how we like shape our reality with our language that I think is like super important. So I just wanted to throw this in as, because a lot of people are starting to like read into Mandela effects. So just keep this in mind as like another possible way to like read into the frequency of the word.
Well, I like this because it lines up also with the age of Aquarius, the age of knowing. And we're all knowing things opposed to just believing what we're being taught or schooled in the previous age. So it really does make a lot of sense that this would have that double meaning in it. This particular Mandela effect, because I've said for a long time, I think Mandela effects could possibly be some type of prophetic word from God, universe, whatever the case may be, your choice of creator. But I've always thought perhaps there's signs and symbols, if you will, showing what is to come, showing us different things. Like you said, the meanings of these Mandela effects could have a very, very deep symbology to them.
And the other thing is, there's usually like, Mandela effects to sort of support what you're saying. And in this case, we have the ET homophone, right? Homophone, like instead of, it changed from phone home to home phone, which is kind of like homophone, which is like a word sounding like a word, right? Another different meaning.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Wow, I never even thought about that.
And I like the way you read the dialogue transcript here, Chris, with it's like the word K-N-O-W is surrounded by a lot of denial, like no, and then no, and then no. And it feels kind of like being inside the Mandela effect. It's often people do greet this shockwave to the system, like can't be, but somehow is, like you often say. It's that denial, that sort of pushback that we instinctively have, but then when we surrender and recognize, okay, maybe reality is different, maybe history has changed, as impossible as that seems. So that knowingness is at the center.
It's absolutely amazing, for sure, that we can even find meanings like that in these effects. You know what I mean? The specific effects, because not everything changes. Like a door is still a door. You know what I mean? It may have a different color, but it's still a door.
Yeah.
But you're saying adore, though. You're like, I adore your point of view right now.
Yeah. With these wings on, you have to turn sideways to get through doors. I've noticed you have to go interdimensional because, the bandwidth is, the wingspan is greater.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I do adore you guys very much, and I do know that we ran across another Mandela effect just this morning, as a matter of fact. The team started an email string about this. I've never heard of this. We have seen a lot of different body changes in the Mandela effect. I'm going to be honest with you. The body changes really mess me up mentally. Like, I cannot make sense of them in a logical manner to scientifically explain them away, which is awesome. It proves their Mandela effects, but they really mess with my head because it's inside of every single one of us that these changes are occurring. All 7 billion or however many of us there are. that these changes are occurring within. What changes are we talking about? Did you know the coccyx bone, or the tailbone, for those that doesn't know the medical term for it, has 8 holes in it? I was unaware of this. Now, I do know that you can break your coccyx bone. I've known a couple of people who have shattered it, and it's never a good thing. It's very painful the way I understand it. But does this have some intricate meanings to it, guys?
Yeah, I think it does. So for myself, this is a Mandela effect. I kind of first discovered this maybe about 6 months ago. I was sitting in my chiropractor's office, like looking at the chart of the spine and so forth. And I'm like, what are those holes? And I've taken 2 levels of cranial sacral therapy. So like I'm very used to like seeing like this shape of the spine and the vertebrae and the sacrum and how all these things connect. So this one, more information just the other day started flowing about the really big importance of this particular one that I think. And I think that these 8 holes mean something, and it's related to something called the tesseract, which is
like from Marvel.
You know what? Definitely, the term is there before, but I know that
it's from A Wrinkle in Time. Yeah.
Oh yes, that's right. It was.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that, but I know about the geometric shape of a cube within a cube. So,
like you can tesseract through space and time by just you've got a 3D plane of space time, and you can just bring 2 points together instantly, and that was a tesseract description from the book A Wrinkle in Time.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. Exactly. Ants on a wire. Like, what's the fastest way for them to get across is just to create that wrinkle in time. That makes sense. So, like when I was reading into this, there was other information that was coming through, but it had to do with our reality and how we can start to view our reality. Because right now, if you think about it, you can imagine it being like we're viewing it like through a visor or through like a flat screen with like 4 points. But a cube has 8 points. So I wanted to throw out there, is there the possibility in the future, if this part of our anatomy becomes activated, could our vision change so that we go from more of like a flat screen view, although it's not, it's 3D, but to go to a higher, like 4-dimensional or 5th-dimensional level. So this might seem like that's an interesting Mandela effect, and then you move on. But I think this one actually might be a really big key for our future. So I wanted to just mention that. I want to dive deeper into it and kind of give it more substance, because I feel it really needs more discussion.
Well, that's interesting, because we didn't really discuss all these fine points beforehand. And you bring up the idea that we could start to view reality differently. And we were discussing earlier with the Mandanimals how we very well may be viewing reality differently.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the thing is, are we ready to kind of come out of our little bubble of how we think of things, and then be able to engage this new viewpoint? And could this be something related to 4D and 5D that people talk about how things are so different and blah, blah, blah. So could this be a key part of that? And I believe that our anatomy is changing, so that everything from our heart being in the center of our chest, the kidneys now being closer to our heart, we've got this change. I think they're all like signs to show that we're moving in the right direction. So we can actually exist in these higher frequency bands.
And the other place that we're seeing the holes is also in the skull, correct? So this is interesting that we're getting the holes added into the skeletal system, both toward the top of ourselves and down toward the base too.
Would that also change the vibrations within the body, the sound vibrations, with the open spaces now being there?
It's definitely doing something.
And it's associated with the root chakra, the color red, the note C on the musical scale. So it seems like there's a connection to rooting down more than we have, expanding our red through violet limited perceptual spectrum. The visual spectrum is very narrow on the bandwidth, and so to me it looks like, get ready, we're going to expand a little bit, get ready to see more. And as Angel Owens presentation included, that last slide at the end, the way you observe matters tremendously. And as who we are changes, then the way we observe, from a higher level perspective of ourselves, the way Shane, you were describing, like being a spaceship pilot or in another reality. And, any one of us I think we've all had that experience where we're in some other sense of ourselves. This is what's really being foretold here with these holes, I think both in the skull and now in the coccyx. And this is super exciting. I think we're seeing something extraordinary, real time, which is what we love doing at IMEC.
I fully agree, Cynthia. Extraordinary indeed. Very great breakdown of that. I love it. And to go along with that, over here in the chat, Elizabeth says 8 is also infinity number. Ooh, that's true. 8 sideways is the infinity symbol. Right below it, Adamant says, and I like this question, maybe related to the Kundalini activation, this 8 thing?
Absolutely. Yeah, because you're getting this kind of flow that's going through the system at such a level that you can no longer function in that 3D reality that you previously thought was who you are. And it's mind-blowing to go through Kundalini. It blows all of your presets and presumptions about reality and yourself, just blasts them apart. Suddenly you're seeing things, knowing things that you couldn't have known. And it's just, and you're running so much energy through your system. So it looks like this is an upgrade that we need as a human species, evolutionary wise, to proceed. Yeah, I think that's a brilliant observation.
Yeah, when we had Dr. Donald Hoffman on, and he was talking about how we're really seeing this desktop of you, if you will, of our reality, you can totally see when you think of it like that, getting a new upgrade to just the way we perceive everything, to see something as being more in line with what it actually is,
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. I've heard it said before, and I agree with this, that our avatars are connected to Earth Mother via infrared. So could these holes be more of a better infrared connection as well to Earth? So like Cynthia said, get ready. So yeah, we all should get ready.
I love that.
My favorite color doesn't exist because it's right where red and violet come together. It's like the Ouroboros. Like if you take the rainbow and just make it meet, then that's where they come together. I love that color. It's not really found, but it's real because we can imagine it.
Speaking of red, I could imagine there was a lot of red in our next slide here. The California alligator farm, ladies and gentlemen. There may have been a bit of red here, but this is interesting. So this isn't just like an alligator farm, right? This is a family fun day event. Is that correct?
Yeah, you can actually find, there's a lot of information about the California alligator farm that operated for almost 80 years. So it's not like it was something obscure and unheard of before. And in this picture, the ladies are having lunch with the alligators, and there's all these photos of kids riding alligators pulling carts. They did alligator shows. The bottom part of the slide says for an entrance fee of 25 cents, you could see them perform for the crowds as they fed on live chickens, rode down slides, and wrestled with trainers. So,
oh my God! Well, that's why they went out of business. 25 cents. They couldn't maintain.
Right? I can barely get a handful of candy out of a machine for 25 cents. Right?
I think that was the price in 1907 or something. Yeah. But I live in California. I never heard about this. I love surreal things. I never heard about this. This looks like a Twilight Zone episode. Imagine a world where you have lunch with alligators.
Totally. Yeah, it does feel like that.
Well, as a person that loves strange and obscure facts, the fact that I haven't run across this till now is very intriguing to me. I've never heard of an alligator farm where you literally hang out with the alligators. Like that would have been definitely something I would have been absolutely flabbergasted by, right?
Yeah, I would want a fence, between me and the alligators.
A really large fence at that, just like the one between me and the tarantulas too, right? But yeah, the alligator farm in California. Do you guys out in chat remember the California alligator farm that ran for 80 years?
And across the street, there was the ostrich farm So if you got bored of the alligators, you could hang out with the ostriches on the other side. So quite a place, quite an area.
Ladies and gentlemen, I must stop the show real quick. Snow Water, a $25 donation. Thank you so much. Says,
Thank you.
thanks all. Thank you, Snow Water. We sincerely appreciate it. Do keep your receipt on that. That is tax deductible, ladies and gentlemen. IMEC is a 501c3 organization. Any donations you do give to us are tax deductible, and we are very, very appreciative of them. You can use the super chat button down in the bottom of your YouTube chat if you also would like to donate like Snow Water. Thank you so very much, Snow Water. We appreciate that. And with that said, this isn't the only place that one might see red. One might also see red in the sky. So we talked about the red sunsets, but I've never heard of a red rainbow. So tell me about this, folks. This is mind-boggling to me. I've heard of all kinds of rainbows, but never a single colored one. What is this?
Yeah, this is pretty cool. Like, so we've got a few slides about rainbows. So, like, there's rainbows everywhere. Like, it seems like we're definitely in the rainbow realm for sure. But yeah, it's also called the monochrome rainbow. So it's rainbows like this are usually a particular color. Usually they're red. And I had never heard of this phenomena before. And I'd like to say that they're extremely rare, but they're more common than you would think. There's other rainbows we're going to talk about that are considered more rare. But yeah, I had never heard of the red rainbow before.
The fact that this is a double-decker red rainbow is pretty cool.
I'm just noticing that now too. I saw this slide before, and for the first time I'm seeing that looks like a double red rainbow. I don't know if it changed since. Did anyone else remember it was a double before? Or is it just me?
I did notice it when we first went through it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting like look away, look back kind of shifts in my world. So you never know. Yeah, I love
Millennium says they saw a double rainbow with orange glow and a lower one like a month ago. First time ever seeing a double one.
Nice.
Yeah, we're going to learn too that the double rainbows are classified as one of the rarest of all rainbows, and double rainbows are popping up everywhere.
They're
going to have to change that classification soon.
Well, on this one, it's red, and we literally were just talking about the red light therapy and things like that. It's connected to the root chakra, right?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a whole concept too, like when I read into it, like that there's when there is a red rainbow that can indicate that a portal has opened into base reality, or the root, the base, and good things are coming through. So there's different things you can read into it, but if you see a red rainbow, it's special. It's very special.
And very healing. And it again is another sign of the healing and the purity coming back into the earth, in my opinion. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, that sounds right.
And what's really interesting, if you take the red and mix it with the white, what color do you get? Pink, like our next one. There we go. Pink monochrome rainbow. This photo here was taken by our very own Mr. Shane Robinson. Shane, tell us about this, sir.
Yeah, I was going over to the airport, and it was late, almost sundown, so the sky was really red, and then it started raining, and I was able to capture this pink rainbow for the first time. This was a couple of years ago in July, and I'd never seen anything like it. I couldn't really make out any colors where the bow actually was, like we could in the red rainbow we just saw. It was almost just like a pink bow. It almost reminded me of, I think in the White Wave video that Angel Owen did, she might have talked about the white bow rainbows. Are you guys familiar with the white bows?
Like fog bows?
Right. So it's almost like that, but in the evening sky, because it didn't have a lot of color in the actual, bow itself. But yeah, it's pretty wild.
And again, we have this color thing. Last one was red. It's related to healing. Pink is related to the heart chakra. And Shane, what is the heart chakra related to? One of your favorite words?
Love.
Love, absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's like the high heart chakra. So it's it's like an evolved level of heart chakra activation.
That's beautiful.
It's really, really neat that these rainbow, and remember the rainbow in the Bible, at least, was God's symbol to the world, his promise to the world that he would never flood the world again, right? It's literally a sign from God, apparently, according to the Bible. So to see these signs changing, these signs and wonders becoming so much more directly distinct, the healing, the love, the symbology of what's being shown here, if you take that biblical path and read into the symbology, it's really amazing to know that this love is being poured upon the earth once again. This ability for the golden timeline to come in, this turnaround of the reality as is being presented around us in this current day and age. Again, that's about as far as I'm going to take that particular statement. But at least these rainbows are curved, right? Unlike our next rainbow. I don't know about you guys, but I've always known rainbows to be a certain shape. I don't know, a bow, perhaps. Uh, what am I looking at here?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that when I was doing this research onto rainbows, there's like 12 different types of rainbows, all very interesting. So I'm driving home and I see a rainbow and it's vertical. It's straight up and down. And I'm like, wait, is this another type of rainbow? So I go, as soon as I get back home, I look it up on my computer and yeah, vertical rainbows are a thing. I wish I took a picture of it, but it was very similar to this. I was in my car getting on the entrance ramp of the highway and I couldn't really take a picture, but it was like amazing. I've never saw a rainbow that's straight up and down. And like, I've been seeing rainbows around the sun. I saw a double rainbow around the sun. I think it was either Saturday morning or Sunday morning with all these sparkly stuff coming out of it. It was right around sunrise. So yeah, it's just like, there's like so much, I can't even tell you. Like, I know other people have been talking about rainbows for a while and it's nothing new, but for me in my reality, there's literally rainbows popping up everywhere.
This is incredible. It's called a sundog or perihelion, which that is not what I remember a sundog being. What I called a sundog before. That's a little different. Sundog to me was something that was like a flare in the camera lens, if I'm not mistaken. But apparently here it's a rainbow in the sky when there are no rain clouds. It looks like there's some clouds there to me. That might just be my eyes. It is confirmed when light rays pass through high cirrus clouds. Okay, so that's when it apparently is formed. Now, again, I don't know what I would think if I seen this. I would think like somebody has turned on some kind of machine, right? Like something you see out of a movie, this rainbow color just going straight into the sky, right? The DreamWork coaches, I saw one just like this 2 days ago.
Wow.
So there you go. A lot of synchronicities showing up today with these rainbows. Interestingly enough, Elizabeth says, I have also seen them in South Africa, but many vertical rainbows. And last but not least, I like this one, cracked me up. Sean Fitzgerald is just humongous. The other end is on the moon. That's all.
Too funny.
Oh, I love it. That is too cool. Thank you guys so much for chiming in there with that. But this vertical rainbow, I've never seen anything like this myself. Aside from Chris, is Shane or Cynthia, have you guys seen anything like this before?
Not yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
Me
I've
and
seen
you both.
that could possibly fit in. We saw a really huge rainbow the other day. I hadn't seen the band quite that large, but the clouds were really low, and there was one over here and then one over where you would expect if it was the full rainbow, but it was just sort of a short segment. This appears to be more of a what they call a what were you calling it? It's on the screen.
Sundog or perihelion?
Yeah, the sundog, which is usually at the same level as the sun, sort of in the 3 and 9 o'clock positions that you can sometimes catch without any rain. But the one we saw, it was definitely raining in that direction. and it was just low in the sky. So, but yeah, not just a straight up and down one, you know.
And there's cloud bows, like rainbows that actually appear within a cloud. I found out there's also horizontal rainbows called circumhorizontal arcs. So there's all kinds of, as we continue, we'll keep talking about rainbows for a little bit, but
speaking of continuing, let's go to the rarest of all the rainbows, at least accordingly. I don't know, the ones after seem a little crazier than that, but double rainbows, or also triple or quadruple. What is this?
Yeah, so like according to Wikipedia, which we all trust and believe.
Oh yes, absolutely. Wikipedia always tells the truth. Sure.
Double rainbows are the rarest of all, and the world got a shot of a double rainbow when they announced the death of Queen Elizabeth. I don't know if anyone caught that or saw that picture over Buckingham Palace. So when her death was announced, there was a double rainbow that appeared there. But they're popping up everywhere.
That's the first I've heard of that, actually.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So these double rainbows are becoming much more common, and I think there's a hidden meaning to these, especially these double rainbows, because if you look at the bands of color, and you look at and you compare that to the human chakra system, the first rainbow and the rainbows we're all used to have red at the top, and then they'll go down to violet at the bottom. With the double rainbow, at the one that's on the top has the colors in the correct sequence. So they're inverted of each other. And then the area between the rainbows, there's like that dark area, they call it the Alexander band. And the Alexander band is actually all the different colors combined. So you see the first rainbow, you've got the Alexander band, which is literally all different colors of the rainbow. You can't see it. They're all just like scattered into points. And then you see what I would call the true rainbow, like the true reflection of what it should be. And it reminds me about how the retina in our eye will look at things a certain way, like a mirror image, and then our brain flips it back to the way we see it now. So could it be that this is another sign in the reality that things are starting to change from a concept of seeing things in an inverted manner to the correct way of viewing things? And could the double rainbow be evidence that this is actually beginning to happen for us? So I love these double rainbows.
I do too. I love that description, Chris. And it's so interesting that triple and quadruple rainbows exist. I've seen double rainbow, but not triple or quadruple.
Well, my question with the triple or quadruple, would it flip back and then flip again and flip back and flip again with each layer? Does it go back and forth, or?
That's a good question.
It's a good question. I'd have to look into that. But the double ones with the Alexander band in the middle are like it's really interesting. You wonder if there'd be like another Alexander band.
Or an Alexandra band. Maybe.
Or Alexandra band, yeah, exactly.
Maybe that flip-flops too. Huh?
But that is absolutely incredible. Again, I've never seen a double rainbow. I have seen some pretty ones lately here in Tennessee, but I haven't seen any double ones. That would be really neat, let alone a quadruple. Could you imagine just like this stack of rainbows, right?
That's where we're headed, apparently.
Maybe that's where Care Bears Village is. Anybody remembers the cartoon? Anyways, ladies and gentlemen.
Nobody's going to admit to it here.
Nope, definitely not. I loved it. I'll admit to it. I love that cartoon. I watched it all the time. The Care Bears were one of my favorites as a kid. Living in the clouds, like how cool would that be, right? But anyway, speaking of living in the clouds, these rainbows live in the clouds as well as our next one. We're going to go from a double rainbow to an upside down rainbow.
Yeah. Of course. Why not?
You said the double rainbow was the more rare. I disagree. I think this would be the more rare of the two, right? Because I could see more people seeing a double rainbow. I've never seen a smile in the sky, or grin in the sky, as this is called. Caused by ice crystals in the upper atmosphere is the claim. Circumzenithal arcs. Chris, you want to take a whack at that one? Maybe you practiced that word a little better than me.
I think zenith is in there. So circumzenithal. Yeah, say
Circumzenithal.
that one time fast. Circumzenithal arcs. Yeah.
Circumzenithial?
Could be circumzenithial.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, we talked about language earlier. There we go. We are definitely languaging our way through this one. All right. So there's not much you have on this slide about this, Chris. Is there a meaning in this one or anything, or?
Well, when you look at the coloration is what I would call like accurate to reflect like what humans are when you consider our energy system. So, and again, I've never seen one of these before. So I don't know if anybody of our audience has, but according to what I've been learning, it's not as rare as a double rainbow. So we should start to see some of these too.
That blows my mind that this is less rare, than a double rainbow. Because I've seen more people report double rainbows than I have reported an upside down one.
I think I've seen something like this in an airplane looking down. I've seen it like once, like when we were flying over. I guess it's ice crystals, so you have to be going over some place that's pretty darn cold. And I think I was taking a flight from Europe to Asia or something from the East Coast, and I don't remember exactly, but I think there was some part of the trip where I looked down, and I do remember seeing an upside down rainbow many years ago, not recently. But it's not like a common thing that I see all the time. No.
Tyrell Core, you guys are cracking me up over here in the chat today. Said it reminds me of Forrest Gump, little bitty rainbows, big old fat rainbows, sideways rainbows, upside down rainbows, round rainbows.
Right.
Oh, I love it. And we're going to continue on with the rainbows, going on to our next. It's not a rainbow per se. It's a scarf cloud. What is this, Cynthia?
Well, this was apparently a photo taken in a place in China. So it looks very unusual to me. I've never seen this personally, but the scarf cloud is the official name of the formation. Well, excuse me, it's called something else. Pileus cloud, which is the same type of fast-forming cloud that forms over a nuclear explosion or erupting volcano. So it's created through a thunderstorm's updraft. So it's working with the interplay of some heat and light, and so it's a really interesting combination. So it's caused by air rapidly rising and colliding with the cooler air that's higher up, so it gives it a rounded pillow-like look for this cloud that looks to me a little bit like a rainbow. And then it being the scarf, the name scarf, and it looks like a scarf, that's associated with which chakra? The throat chakra, which is what number? 5. So again, with the number 5. And the rainbow also is very important for all of this. So these concepts are just coming together in this show in a very intuitive way. We've been touching on lots of points that I think we'll be bringing together in just a moment.
Very cool. I've never seen one of these, definitely. Very cool.
That is fascinating.
Yeah, they say that when people in China saw it, they're like, did I miss the rapture? Like, what's going on? What's going on here? Because it is like something like to see one of these scarf clouds is actually very rare, and they don't last that long. Like the actual colors will last, minutes, but when they're there, they're like brilliant, totally beautiful, and vibrant.
It amazes me that it comes out of China, the same place that we've seen sky cities and so many strange sky phenomena.
Yeah.
And again, they do have quite a few volcanoes too. So, but could this be connected to other things, Cynthia? Is there a meaning in the scarf clouds?
Yeah, I think I was going to go into that, and I think in the next slide where I can get into some of the mythology, the legends, the prophecies. Yeah,
And
here we
are.
Here we go. Okay, this is what I'm referring to.
World with that number 5 again and the blue throat chakra. What do you got, Cynthia?
Okay, this is where it starts tying things up and bringing it together. So I mentioned earlier in the show today that this idea of that we're in the fourth world. It's called the world complete. Though, according to the Hopi mythology, in this this article I wrote many years ago for Parabola magazine, and basically wrote it for the spring 2000 issue. So if anyone's looking for it, it's the threshold issue, going through one door into another, one world into another. And so that's totally what's going on. What we're seeing are the culmination of some of the prophecies. This rainbow warrior prophecy, which was part of many indigenous tribes and nations in the Northern America continent, talk about this. I just want to read a short excerpt here about the warriors of the rainbow. This is written by Dr. Don't want to butcher the name, Leilani Fuller Anderson, and she's also known as the Cherokee Lady. And she's written quite a few books on Indian herbal medicine, and she's talked about dreams a lot. And so this is her version of the prophecy. She said was passed down to her by her grandmother when she was young. And the prophecy of the warriors of the rainbow goes something like this. There was an old lady, and she was from the Cree tribe, named Eyes of Fire. And she prophesied that one day, because of the white man's Yonogi's greed, materialist greed, there would come a time when the fish would die in the streams, the birds would fall from the air, the waters would be blackened, and the trees would no longer be. Mankind, as we know it, would all but cease to exist. There would come a time when the keepers of the legend, the keepers of the stories, the keepers of the culture, the rituals, the myths, and all the ancient tribal customs would be needed to restore us to health. They would be mankind's key to survival. They were called and known as the warriors of the rainbow. And that there would become a time and a day of great awakening when all the peoples of all the tribes all around the world would form a new world of justice and peace and freedom and recognition of the Great Spirit. And so the warriors of the rainbow would spread these messages and teach all the people of the earth. They would teach them how to live the way of the Great Spirit, tell them how the world today has turned us from the Great Spirit, and that's why the earth has become sick. They would show the people the ancient being, the Great Spirit, is full of love and understanding, and teach them how to make the earth beautiful again. Okay, well, that's really cool. But then I'd heard about that. But the Shambhala connection for me has been a big one this last month. And I've gone from what I would call the Bodhisattva blues to feeling like we're all on the road to Shambhala. And the Shambhala prophecy from Tibet now, thousands of years old prophecy, it's very similar to the Rainbow Warrior prophecy. It's not exactly identical. There's some interesting discrepancies, but not huge ones, mostly going into the fact that Shambhala is a hidden kingdom, and the Dalai Lama refers to it as being real. It's real, but it's not accessible by everyone. You have to already have a connection to it in order to see it or be there, and it has to kind of reach out for you, basically. But this prophecy from Tibet and Mongolia, both, they cover this idea that the existence of this mythical kingdom, they're calling it mythical. Remember, it's real. It's just that most people can't access it. So it sounds interdimensional to me. It sounds like a Mandela Effect kind of place to me. And it feels like home to me too, frankly. I feel like that's what I remember. Because I remember everybody being enlightened there, everybody being in their hearts there. It feels like heaven on earth. And so in this prophecy, according to the Kala Chakra Tantra teachings, a line of enlightened kings, here's where it's different. Shambhala has kings, and there have been 32 of them. When you get to the 32nd king, each one with 100-year reign, then these keepers of the highest wisdom on earth and the highest values of spiritual knowledge will be lost, almost lost, in a war and destruction. According to prophecy, a great king will come out of the sanctuary to defeat forces of evil and establish a golden age. This prophecy states and it goes on about the kings and so forth, and barbarians who are basically materialist barbarians are the ones threatening the well-being of the earth. But that connection to the rainbow, to the fifth world, to where we're going next, it all kind of culminates and comes together here. It does mention the golden age, and I think it matches what we're noticing about the color blue which is associated with the 5th chakra. Again, if you're starting with the 1st chakra at the root, the 2nd chakra is the sacral hara or dantian chakra. The 3rd is the solar plexus. The 4th is the heart. Then we move up from the 4th world to the 5th. We're moving into blue, so we'll see all these blues. The rainbow is extremely significant, calling us back to that spiritual connection and the true wisdom that some have never lost and it's always here. And to me, Shambhala is in our hearts. You can't lose it, and it can call to us, as I think it's doing right now with the rainbow.
It's beautiful. I love that. But you're muted, Jerry.
Told you DJs don't know how to use mute buttons. It's astonishing to me that you find this prophecy not only in the Hopi, like you mentioned, but you find it across the world, like in Tibet, for instance, and these same aspects in a number of different prophecies about the new ages and the new world and the new earth, for instance, like Dolores Cannon talks about. But again, you find this everywhere across the planet, and it's very, very intriguing to me of that.
Yeah, and super uplifting, I think, despite the fact that the word warrior keeps coming up, and people point out, well, that's weird, because why would these peaceful people talk about warriors? But it's really, I think it's an inner battle. It's really recognizing that just because people say something is true or right, if it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel true, then trust your heart and trust a deeper sense of knowing and what's best truly for all of our relations. And that's the key. We can start finding our way back to wisdom that way, through love and through inspiration and acknowledgement of reverence and respect, for all of creation. And these things, if we let them slip away, then we risk running into some of these problems.
And that could be what we're seeing right now in the world around us, is this falling away of the old world, the old guard, the old way of doing things, the old energy is starting to fall away, and a new energy coming to light. The energy of the people, if you will, starting to come to light more so around the world. Would you agree with that?
Yes. Yeah. I think we're seeing it in lots of ways. And I'm not going to go into anything that would get us shut down off YouTube. So.
Right. Well, you are quite an angel, Cynthia. Those are some very pretty angel wings that you have there.
Yeah. Well, I had to put these on in honor of, feeling like what we're talking about today. And really this golden age that we're all about here at IMEC, and all these rainbows and this color blue. It's just too much. We don't need to feel blue about the world conditions. And so these Mandela Effect Blues can be really a calling to that higher level of consciousness, just moving up into the next experience of humanity, where we do have holes in the coccyx, and we're experiencing an upgrade as usual. And God's in the details.
I just want to add too, like maybe there is an aspect that for many of us, many of those people watching us too, we have an aspect that's like you might call a rainbow warrior, that are doing things, that are forming a collective and doing things in the unseen to help bring about all these different changes that the earth needs right now. So there's different levels you could look at that too. Like some people might think of an actual warrior, like no, not necessarily. It could be something something positive that's happening kind of behind the scenes. So when people hear about this and it's like, oh, rainbow warriors, they might associate, like they might feel part of it because they might be part of it. So yeah, there's different levels to look at that as well.
I actually feel like we are part of it. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and sometimes like all you have to do is just like be a warrior, no, but stand your ground. Like that's all it takes for peace. To keep peace, sometimes you just need to stand your ground.
And for love, and what you know is right, and what you feel is right in your heart. Yeah.
Yeah, being a warrior doesn't necessarily imbue the idea of going out with a stick and beating something. There are a lot of information warriors around the world right now, fighting an information battle.
Doing the right thing.
What's that?
Yeah, saying the right thing. doing the right thing. It's right speech, right action. Yes.
Exactly. We're moral warriors, as you were pointing out, when we do stand up against what we see as wrong morally and do things that would look crazy perhaps to others, but based on principle alone, we fight for our cause, we fight for what we believe in, and we become spiritual warriors at that point, right?
Yeah, because the pen and the tongue are mightier than the sword. Like that's how you can move men's hearts, by the things we write, the things we say. So keep that in mind too.
And one person can make a difference. Yeah. Even if you think you're nothing and no one pays attention, don't think that way. Because the very smallest voice can make all the difference in the world. Huge difference.
And we sitting here today are living proof of this. Real quick, not to brag, but I do want to point out, I had an idea that I thought was ridiculous. I thought as one person, I would never be able to accomplish my idea. I reached out to some people and it snowballed into, number one, the most amazing conference I've ever been to, let alone put on. Then again, I may be a bit biased, but also one of the most amazing teams I've ever had the honor and pleasure of working with. And we have been able to really take the reins and do a lot within and for the community here. And this all come out of one idea from one person. So don't think you can't make a difference. I have watched this team grow and watched IMEC grow and watched the difference we have made in you guys' lives and in the community as a whole, all because one man had an idea and went forward with that idea and continued to grow it into what it is today. So never think that you cannot make a difference. When I first contacted Cynthia, I was scared because Cynthia to me was a celebrity. She's a person that would barely have time to reach out to me, let alone be involved with my project. But it turned out to be one of the best moves I ever made. So I cannot reiterate, if you think you can't make a difference, we are living proof right here today that everybody can make a difference. It just takes a little bit of reaching out and getting over that fear that you might fail, because you might fail or you might make a difference in ways that you couldn't even begin to imagine. Again, not trying to brag, but just want to point out that example, that what you're watching right now is a true example of how that can happen.
Talk about the butterfly effect, huh? Yeah, this idea, and look at all this that's come about since that one little idea, that you could have just blown it off. How many times did we get an idea and we just, it's just too difficult,
6 months I did. I convinced myself this is dumb. Nobody will want a part of it. Nobody will like it. They're all going to laugh at you,
Once again, the left brain, like talking us out of those right brain ideas, those creative ideas that come, and then like the left brain is a master at like tearing it apart before you ever act on it, So really it's like realizing like, wait a minute, it's tearing apart this idea again. Maybe I should just act on it and see what happens,
Right. And thank God I did, because like you said, look at the ripples that it has caused through the last couple of years. These ripples have become full-scale waves at this point, right?
Yeah. I mean, who would think, we got HBO and Jimmy Kimmel and all the places that we never would have sort of stretched our
Vice
legs.
Magazine coming to us.
Right. Yeah, it's been huge.
It's been absolutely amazing. What's that?
And all of the viewers too, just the divine gathering of so many people to have somewhere to go and express their feelings and experiences. That's huge at a time like this,
And that's exactly what we're here for, is the community as a whole. Absolutely. That's why we do what we do. And speaking of what we do, it seems like we have been divinely guided, like we have angels in our midst, aside from the one sitting here on camera, which I truly believe is an angel on earth. If you ever meet this lady, ladies and gentlemen, she truly glows. I don't even know how to put it. Just such a happy, bubbly, wonderful person all the time. We very well may have angels in our midst, but angel wings specifically have some Mandela effects to them, right, guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they first showed up around 300 AD in paintings, which is quite early to me. But the angel wings I remember are kind of like what we see here, just your basic white angel wings. But that's not the case, is it?
No.
Yeah, no, they've gotten more detailed. Yeah, I remember just like regular white wings, and now you can see the details. They look like the feathers, like bird wings. So you can see in all the depictions, statues, paintings, you actually can see the individual feathers in an angel wing. So for some people that's new, like myself.
I think we got a video clip. I don't know if this one plays.
So this is the one that we're going to point to in the description. If anybody would like to watch it, it's from Skook's Strange World.
Okay.
I'm a good friend of Skook's myself. Great researcher, great person. I definitely would suggest you guys check this out. She's a huge part of the Mandela Effect community as far as research goes, and she has her own channel, so definitely check out Skook's Strange World. And she goes into this in much, much greater detail. Mandela Effect, the humans can have huge muscular attachment to shoulder blades as if we had wings. Now, what is this? This sounds like a Chris thing here. What is this, Chris?
Actually, Cynthia pointed it out.
Cynthia. Oh,
Yeah.
I stand corrected. Go ahead, Cynthia.
Well, yeah, it seems like there's been, I don't even know where to start. One thing that myself and other people have noticed is sometimes it feels like you've got angel wings, not these costume ones, but like real ones. And it seems like there's also been an awareness of this in just, yeah, it's like we're starting to, I don't know how to even describe the muscle attachment, but basically it looks like there is an additional muscle that humans now have that looks almost like it is a place to attach angel wings. And I don't remember the name of the muscle. Sorry, but
that's amazing, because I can remember being a kid and like I couldn't imagine having wings, but I can totally imagine it now.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
It's kind of like we were talking earlier with the memory thing. It's like I can almost remember having
Right.
them,
Right.
know?
And it gives us that access to a feeling like I have for Shambhala, or we have as being angels. It's kind of like in real life. It feels like, and sometimes when I was going through my Kundalini experience, I would feel almost like there were pin feathers going through my skin, but I couldn't feel anything. It felt so real. It felt like, and it would itch. I felt like these muscles are itching, and and then I'd feel it etherically, like in my astral and etheric body, like, oh, these are really growing. Like my wings are getting bigger. They're getting bigger. It felt real. I know it sounds crazy, but now we actually have a feeling like we do have those muscles where that could be actually a reality.
Can you imagine waking up with wings and everybody being like, what are you talking about? We've always had wings.
Oh, man.
Look at the pictures, and then you start flipping through your phone and like, what's going on?
All the selfie photos are different. Like you got your wings stretched out.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, I just wanted to add too, like for like myself, sensing a lot of like, for me, a lot of rainbow activity.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of angel activity.
There's so much angel activity. Yes.
Yeah.
It
I
is
almost
like,
wish we'd saved that Cokesville miracle angel story for this one,
Right?
You know, because it is like that, and like in that video, it was grandparents and things that showed up as angels, and I think that's huge right now. As we've all had people we've lost that's on the other side, and I think they're actually helping us right now. I get little signs. I think the hummingbird was one that can be a sign that comes around, you know, or dragonflies, all sorts of butterflies, all sorts of signs you might have that remind you of your other, your loved ones that's on the other side. But they're helping, and they give us little indications that they're there, you know.
they feel
Absolutely.
incredibly, yeah, they feel so close now. It seems like the heavens are opening up. It's like heaven is here on earth. It feels like it's right here. That's what I've been noticing. It's just like the synchronicities, like we said, are off the charts.
Yeah.
And just things just flowing incredibly well. So
I second with the loved ones being near. I've had a lot of experiences lately, so I can definitely sense her very, very close. But anyway, moving on, angels, definitely an incredible topic, but it's not the last we're going to hear of angels today. I think it would be cool, though, if we woke up, like, started noticing wings coming out of our back and then like slowly like started growing the wings. I think that would be so neat. And perhaps that's where humanity's headed. Perhaps a couple of generations that new muscle could grow into that very thing. Perhaps it's the new evolution and we're the beginning. Perhaps. And perhaps Michael Moss is something that I've never heard of. Okay, I'm going to be clear here. Michael Moss, I've never heard of this. This is a festival, right? Of some type, a Christian festival. I know about most of the feast. The Feast of St. Michael is a little new to me here. Does anybody have any information on this?
Yeah, it's it's going to be tomorrow, and it's one of the. I think there are 4 celebrations that are sort of closely linked with the solstices and the equinoxes. So this one would be an equinox festival, and like their quarter holidays or something. And I was not really aware of Michaelmas until a couple years ago. I get the newsletters from Rupert Sheldrake, and he was mentioning that he was going to Michaelmas, and where they sing in a church, and it's very meaningful. And he always mentions it. It seems like a very big deal for him. And I thought, wow, maybe this is an English thing, but it's not just in England, apparently, and it's apparently part of the Rudolf Steiner schools. So anybody that goes to a Waldorf school would celebrate Michaelmas and go through sort of a pageant, sort of a play of, slaying a dragon, which is symbolic. It's not. I like dragons, so that sort of makes me feel a little bit nervous, like slaying a dragon, but it's metaphorical to go into the winter months, because in the northern hemisphere we're about to go from summer moving now into autumn and toward winter, and so the long dark night of the soul is coming for us, sort of metaphorically speaking. And so facing what we fear is really important, and so Archangel Michael is part of the strength for that kind of a struggle with one's own inner darkness, your inner fears, whatever you're fixating on, like staring at the pothole in the road instead of the rainbow in the sky. We want it to learn to look up. And so Archangel Michael is a big part of that. All of the archangels are celebrated as part of Michaelmas. And it is tomorrow. It's September 29th. So.
And you can trade with Archangel Michael? What? I'm confused here.
Yeah, so there's a whole concept of the universe being based on commerce, but basically the whole concept about how there's trading that can go on between our higher selves and even among angels and so forth. So they say that this tomorrow is actually the best day, like if you were to try to make contact with Archangel Michael, to actually trade with him. He has certain abilities. You might have certain things that he would find valuable. So like a mutually beneficial type thing. So yeah, and actually we're trading, like all of us trade now, like we don't realize it, but our higher selves are going through a process where we're all learning and growing from each other. And when we become aware of that whole trading concept, like even our audience, almost like creating like a group mastermind, like we're all helping each other and growing in the unseen. And when we know that this could possibly be happening, all of a sudden we amplify it. We make it even stronger and better and faster, and we could do more and more and more. So yeah, that's a concept that I talk about in some of my symphony, or at least one of my Symphony Realities videos, about that whole concept of like higher self trading. So yeah, and if someone wanted to like contact Archangel Michael, tomorrow's the day. Like, he's taking all calls tomorrow. So keep that in mind.
Very intriguing. Again, I never heard of Michael Moss. Touching on the blue, getting to the topic here, interestingly enough, JD Peterson in the chat says, by the way, Archangel Michael is said to have a blue auric field.
Exactly. Yeah, he is the blue archangel. And that's why we're wearing the blue today in honor of Michaelmas and all these blue animals. And he is another connection. Good point. And I consider Archangel Michael a great teacher of mine, because especially when dealing with things like anger, I get upset sometimes at people. You might not think so, but I do. And so the one that's helped me the most is Archangel Michael, and he used to have to remind me. Well, I'd ask him many times, like, what do you do with your anger again? How do you get rid of this thing? Because I knew he must have had a problem with that at some point along the way. Clearly, obviously.
And it's true, folks. One time I have seen Cynthia quite upset and angered. Only once, but I have seen it. It does exist.
You're so funny. It totally exists.
And watch out, because she knows karate too. Or some form of martial art. You don't want to anger her too much.
Yeah. You're funny. Yeah, these archangels are amazing. They're great teachers. And Michael, of course, is the leader of the archangels. So he's the one, if you want to call one and call them all, he's the one to call.
I think it's interesting because Michael, you know, in some, I think maybe Jehovah's Witnesses, they believe that Jesus and Michael, the Archangel Michael, might be the same.
That's
character.
right.
Mormons.
And of course, I'm sorry. I don't
Well, no,
Mormons.
it's I know definitely Jehovah's Witnesses because I.
Really?
Oh, okay.
I was one.
Okay, yeah.
So did the
I thought
Masons too. It comes out of the Mason beliefs.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, if you think about, you know, the parallels between Christmas, you know, being Christ and Jesus, and then we got Michael Miss about halfway through the year. It just kind of.
The story real quick is that Jesus and Michael basically come down and did everything God told him to in steps. And then he sends Michael down one more time as a physical man, knocks him out, takes the memory, and he becomes Adam. That's the basic story.
I haven't heard that one.
I can see you writing a children's book about this, Jerry.
Don't put it past me.
I could be the illustrator.
Hey, you know what? We need to write an IMEC book. Let's note that for a later discussion. That would actually be a really good idea.
Absolutely.
And there you go, folks. Ideas being born right in front of you. Speaking of ideas, nobody has any idea how to spell the name of the Ukrainian president, right? I know that I've seen a couple different spellings myself. Next slide. But there's been upwards of 5 different spellings of Zelensky's name. Have you guys encountered all of these or some of these?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'll see like news headlines and I'll see Zelensky actually spelled his same name different ways. You know, on the same page of like news headlines, but for the same day.
Yeah.
So when you go to like Wikipedia, it'll say like, oh, because the first thing that it was always just SKY, and then it became SKYY. You'd go to Wikipedia and it would say, oh, it's a transliteration, you know, because of how you translate the language. It could be just SKY or SKYY. And I'm thinking to myself, if I'm the president of Ukraine, I'm going to put out a news release. Like, this is the way you spell my name. You get my name right, because that's what I would do. And then it popped into the reality where it ended in SKIY. And I'm like, what? That's even more ridiculous. And then I've seen SKI and then SKII. So it keeps going, and I think there's a reason for it. And I think it's related to these lights over Kiev.
The sky, yeah.
Yeah. So there's like, I feel that they're like right in our face, blatant timeline manipulation. Like, I literally feel like there's different versions of this Zelensky guy that are being brought in to actually, for whatever reason, to try to get events to be maneuvered into a certain way, whatever faction wants to do that. And usually when there's a last name change like that, it usually means something has changed in their ancestral lineage. So, and some of these I go back and I read back to the time of it, all the way back to the time of Atlantis. But no matter how you look at it, whether it's a Mandela effect or reporter, journalist can't get his name right, or, you know, whatever it is, like there is something suspect about all of these name changes for this guy's last name.
Well, I can answer why he hasn't put out a press release. He's too busy twerking for the camera and dancing around, doing other stuff. I don't know if you follow this guy. He's got some interesting videos he's put out for sure. But I have seen at least 2 different versions of the spelling. The KY and the KI for sure. The KIY, I'm not 100%. It seems like I have seen that before also, but I know for sure I've seen at least those 2.
Yeah, and I'm waiting for the SKE and then the SKEE, because I mean that works too. So who knows? Who knows?
Wait till we start getting Zelensky spelled with an X, as is pointed out here in the chat by Sean Fitzgerald.
So now we've had a change of spelling on the word Kiev too. And what's the connection with the lights over Kiev?
Yes, so these lights are very interesting because this made the news on September 14th because the source of the lights couldn't be identified. So there's different types of possibilities of an atmospheric phenomena. There's something called pillar lights, and they ruled that out. There's all these different things. It could have been secret military aircraft, blimps. But actually, one of the more common theories was that they were unidentified aerial phenomena. And, you know, for a lot of us that have like looked into like the whole concept of like UFOs, we were never familiar with the UAPs. But UAP has been around. That's a term that's been used since the 60s.
Wait. What?
That's a Mandela effect for me, because this UAP is new for me in the last few years. Yeah.
So the first time I've heard UAP, like Cynthia, I've been in the UFO circles for a very long time. I come out of the UFO circles basically, out of
You're
the
basically a
paranormal.
UFO.
Right? Yeah, I'd like to come out of a UFO and stuff. That'd be even better. Wouldn't that be cool? Right? We're giving away my secrets. Anyway, seriously, I have studied this. I've studied the language of it. I know the language of it. Once you get into it, it does have its own language, that's for sure. But you know all the language in a very short time. You know all the cases. You know all the references. You know all the military usages. We've seen the documents. We've heard from the researchers. I didn't hear unidentified aerial phenomena until at least 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago now. Well, I guess it has been longer than that. But anyway, when Hillary Clinton came out and said it was unidentified aerial phenomena is the word we're now using, and Podesta backed this up with his information.
Right. I remember that was a big switch. It was like the new thing. Yeah.
Everybody learned at that moment the new term the government was using for classification purposes to put on the FOIA request. That was gargantuan in the UFO circles.
Yes.
Now, if that had been around since the 1960s, that would have meant absolutely nothing to every one of us researchers. We would have been like, oh, yeah, duh, we knew that. What are you talking about?
Right.
Like, we know what's been around since the 1960s, and I think Adam Ant has that right in the chat there. Weather balloons, that's what they were calling it back in the 60s, not UAPs.
Right. Exactly, Adam. Weather balloons or swamp gas from Venus, right?
Right. I got to say with this image here, though, it almost looks like the lights could be projected up from the ground. Some of the beams look brighter towards the earth, like it's just maybe shining up on the clouds. Is it possible? Are they claiming something was in the sky here?
Yeah. So there's a weather phenomena called light pillars, and that happens when there's it has to be an artificial light source from the ground going up. And the brightness with a light pillar is always on the ground. It's not on the cloud. So it's kind of like the opposite. And it has to be when there's ice crystals in the air. So,
and they definitely don't shine in the clouds like that when it's.
Yeah. So to give everyone like another possibility of like what this could be. I was reading into this actually with myself and my friend Sean Bond. We were reading into this, and we were getting like that it was something that was negative, like some kind of negative programming that was happening, possibly for the citizens of Kiev, mind control, fear, energy, basically an emotional influence of the citizens versus the government. Because I don't know what's going on the ground there. Like I have no idea what's like how people in Kiev are really being affected by all this, if the hope is being taken from them or whatever, but just as another possibility. But it does seem like it is some kind of unidentified aerial phenomena at the very least, because all the weather blimps and other things seem to have been ruled out. So, and then to make it even more interesting, as I was looking into this, believe it or not, I got contacted. Well, I get these electric shocks on my body. I kind of describe this every once in a while. And as I've learned, like I thought it was like certain beings or personalities contacting me directly, but I appear to have an angel receptionist, and she'll be it'll be like I'll read into a certain chakra, like, you got to call, it's Archangel Michael on line 1, you got Topsy the elephant on line 2, and Napoleon's on line 3. He says it's urgent. I'm thinking to myself, Napoleon always says it's urgent. So I was getting like a message from Archangel Michael, because I think that somehow he's involved with this. And if we go to the next slide, I believe it's the next slide.
It is.
Yeah, there's the next slide.
I'll explain this a little bit more. But as it turns out, there is a huge statue of Archangel Michael in Independence Square in Kiev. He's kind of like the patron angel of Kiev. And I've been to Kiev before. I've been to like Odessa, like I've been to that whole area. So people there are very like religious, and that's like Archangel Michael is a big thing there. So like I was getting the message that he and other angels were doing something to negate, to transmute any of this type of negativity that others might be trying to bring into the area. So I'm getting all these loud frequencies in my ears as I'm saying this. So, and yes, so, and I wanted to mention too about like to kind of give some people some like higher level information about Archangel Michael that they may not know about. And I'll just say this is a perspective that I've learned, but there's a concept called the family of Michael. So a lot of times people think Archangel Michael is just like one particular being, but I believe it's actually a whole family, and they're like protectors. And it's the same kind of concept as the Green Lantern series of DC Comics. So like the Green Lanterns were green, but the Archangel Michaels have the blue color, but they're there as protectors of, not just Earth, but all these different other planets and so forth, wherever they're needed to go. And certain beings are chosen to be part of that family. And when I read into it and when I tune into it, there's currently there's at least 300 people on the Earth right now that have some kind of relationship with Archangel Michael. And it's not just men, it's women as well. Men and women have relationships with these Michaels, whether there's an original Michael who said he originated in a star system called Aldebaran, and then all these other Michaels. So there's angel activity, Michael activity. In the past, there was the concept of dark Michaels, and those things are leaving with all the higher frequencies. Those type of things can't exist. So yeah, Archangel Michael, blue throat chakra, his blue sword of transmutation. It wasn't a sword of fighting. It was a sword of transmuting negative emotions and negativity. So all these things are like tying into world events, and could all these things actually be happening behind the scenes? So I just wanted to bring that out and everyone could look into this for themselves, but just another perspective of what might be going on that's not making the 6 o'clock news. I'll put it to you that way. It's making IMEC open tables, but not the global narrative.
So it's almost like these guys, as 300 are sort of the counter to the bloodline families or something, huh? Keep them in line. Huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Or did I say too much?
That's interesting.
That's
really interesting.
There's a lot of bilocation, multi-location going on. So sometimes seeing 300 in a family is another way of saying you're seeing a fullness of the multiplicity of spiritual selves, dynamically activated and operating in all these parallel possible realities, which sometimes we see, several of them, and sometimes we can feel that. I'm just riffing on it a bit.
Operating in one accord, too,
yes.
Like the Bible, not the Honda car.
Yes, choosing to do so. So you touch one, you touch them all. You touch God too directly.
Well, I do know that there's a lot of divinity within this group and the way things happen. Perhaps Archangel Michael has got his hand in our little group too.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if people that are watching this feel like a natural attraction to this whole concept, it could be that a part of them or an aspect of them is somehow related to this. Or at least one of the other angels. So like we're saying, like lots of angel activity, whether it's Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel, all the whole gang, like everything is like really like starting to come together as we're getting into these higher frequencies on the planet, and all this light coming into the planet is amazing.
And it ties in with what you and Shane and I were saying about remembering these other possible selves, like me and Shambhala, Shane on the spaceship, thinking, well, that life on Earth sounds interesting,
Yeah.
And what if this is what it's like to be Michael, to be aware that you are these hundreds of selves, and to know, I think this is the possibility of expanded awareness that humans are now moving into.
Right.
I would fully agree. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to conclude this week's IMEC Open Tables. Lots of information to go through, folks. That was a great show. Anything you guys would like to add before we get to our final scheduling for this year?
Well, do we do Q&A? Because we got an email question.
I'm not sure which slide we got first. Heather, which one do we have first here?
Okay.
There we go.
Our Patreon supporters. All right. And then we will get into the questions, I'm sure. I've not forgot about the questions. I want to make sure we go in order because you got some slides I don't have there. A special thank you to our current and new Patreon supporters. You can find us over on Patreon, where we usually post a backstage green room video, especially if we have a guest. We did not get any video this time, as we had a whole lot to go through on this round, but we do post these quite often, and they were exclusive Patreon only videos. So you definitely want to be subscribed over there to Patreon to get access to that content, like JD Peterson or James or Colleen Learley, Jody, Jason Ram, Josiah Boricius, I apologize if I messed up the name, Paul Ellis, Michelle Walker, Bo Kim, Allison Eastman, and Gail Brown, to name a few, as well as some that have decided to remain anonymous. So we appreciate all of the support you guys give us over there on Patreon. The link to the Patreon now in the chat over in the YouTube. That is patreon.com/IMEC. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to donate over there, always remember any and all donations to IMEC are tax deductible donations. So that's even better for everybody all the way around. Next slide, please, Miss Producer. Upcoming shows this month, ladies and gentlemen, we've got the rest of the year scheduled out. Grab your calendars, mark these dates down, as you do not want to miss any of the amazing IMEC Open Tables for the rest of 2022. Season 2, Episode 10, Thursday, October the 27th, 2022. That's right, folks. Do make sure you mark that on your calendar, as well as the November episode will be November 30th. So while you're coming down off the turkey high, make sure you check on in with us here at the International Mandela Effect Conference. We are very excited about these upcoming episodes. And in closing out Season 2, on December the 21st, 2022. December the 21st. What a date, right?
We're going to close out everything on that date, possibly. Right?
Possibly. That might be one of those year-end days. Remember, it was 21-2012. Perhaps the year was wrong, but the date was right. We shall find out if we are able to go live on that day, if we're still alive on that day.
Or be broadcasting live from 5D, right?
Absolutely, live from 5D, ladies and gentlemen, IMEC. That's right. And we are also working, ladies and gentlemen, behind the scenes on getting together stuff for another in-person conference, folks. That's right. We are pulling the details together. It's still in the making right now. We got a lot of stuff to do, but we are pulling together another in-person conference, as the world seems like it is going to allow us to finally get together as a community and enjoy each other's company. If you had the honor and pleasure of coming to the 2019 conference, you'll know that was truly magical in every aspect. So these are events you do not want to miss. Definitely stay tuned. We will be giving more information on that as time moves forward. Now, questions, ladies and gentlemen. We have a couple questions, of course, from our mailbag. First, we're going to see if you would like your question answered on each IMEC show and you're not sure you can get it in chat or you'll remember, send us an email and we will gladly cover those questions probably before we even get to the chat questions like we have one today. Cynthia,
Yes.
you said you have a printed out question that we got for IMEC, correct?
Yes, I do. And this is from a gentleman named Reed, and he writes to us basically saying, I hope this is appropriate to ask. My wife had a perfect Mandela Effect question. The fire danger sign that's posted in forests currently has 4 levels of danger. My wife and I seem to believe in years past it had 5 levels, and the wording on a couple of levels may have been different. What do you say? What say you? Thanks for your time. Reed.
So the fire danger sign found out west more so than in other parts of the country for sure.
Yeah.
How many levels did it have, 4 or 5? And do you know what they actually say? Go ahead, guys.
And we can put this to the chat too, so if people want to chime in. And I'm not really sure. It's like if you were to ask me just open-ended, how many levels are there? I'm not sure I would have guessed 5 or 4. I might have said 3. So it's 4 now, huh? That's interesting.
Yeah.
See, 5 would make sense to me, just as one of those rounded out numbers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are we talking about like the half circle with the danger level for the day? Because I'm seeing 5 now.
You're seeing 5 now? Oh, in your mind.
There's green, blue, yellow, orange, and red. And
Oh.
it goes from low, moderate, high, very high, and extreme. This is one
That's
that
5 levels.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, apparently, wherever Reed is, he didn't say where he's writing from, but he says currently they have 4 levels wherever he is. 5. I remember an odd number. I would have guessed 3 or 5, but like high, moderate, and low. 3.
Right.
But that's also the Smoky Bear, right?
Only you can prevent forest fires.
Right.
Yeah, I remember Smokey the Bear.
Right,
Here, here.
Smokey the Bear. That points to another Mandela effect. I mean, it's missing. Now it's just Smokey Bear, right?
Right.
Smoky Bear.
Yeah,
So you
so
guys
I'm seeing
remember
5
5?
levels with him on it.
Looks like in the chat we've got people remembering 5 levels. Yeah.
4 plus a red flag. DreamWork Coach says, I see both in a Google search. 4 leaves out the very high category.
Okay.
So perhaps we've got 2 things that are kind of melding here, 2 realities that are starting to merge together right in front of our eyes, perhaps.
You know, and that happens a lot. Like a lot of times people will be like, wait, I remember it both ways. So that's how these Mandela effects are working too. So
Right.
And that drives me nuts when somebody presents a Mandela effect and I'm like, both seem right. I remember them both. I don't know. That drives me bonkers because I hold
I'm
both
only seeing
memories.
5. Yeah, I don't even see 4 as an option on any of these that came up. That's really
Weird.
strange.
Maybe it's changed since the question came in.
Yeah, it could have totally flip-flopped.
It might have to do with localities too, and local statutes opposed to general statutes.
Right.
But
yeah, it could be. Were they American or from the United States? Do we know?
We're assuming U.S. They didn't exactly specify.
Because I'm seeing Smokey Bear on these, and that's a U.S. thing, right?
Yes, U.S.
I'm assuming they're from the U.S. again with the question. I know living out west, that is a huge thing every year with the forest fires, as you know, Cynthia, out there.
Yes.
Next question, and if you guys once again have a question that you're not able to get to, is do email us at team@imec.org. I had to think about that one for a minute. TEAM@imec.org. imec.world, imec.world. We will definitely answer your questions, most likely on the next show if we aren't able to get back to you in time. We might answer it both in email and on the next show, but definitely send those in. We would love to hear from you guys and continue to help us with our mailbag. Cynthia, Natalie Butler asks, please tell us Angel Michael's advice for processing anger.
Oh, yes. Let go of it. Basically, give it to God, and he had to remind me several times. I was like, okay, what's that thing you do again? Like, okay, oh, right. Give it to God. Let God take care of it. It's like,
what's that thing you're supposed to do again?
Yeah, what's that thing? I'm all upset again. Because whenever I get upset, I forget. I'm like, oh, there's something very obvious, but it doesn't seem obvious. But now it's starting to seem obvious to me. Of course, I'm not angry right now. The real test is when I'm angry, then do I remember? So.
Right. Very rarely do we remember to give it to God when we are that angry and upset. I know I am not good about that myself. I tend to get a little mean in the head when I get angry, but that's just me. I don't act on it. I just think about it.
I feel like I'm always shown like some way I did the same thing, but in a different way. It's like, oh yeah, I guess I was guilty of that yesterday. My bad. And then
right.
You just have that feeling of cutting the person slack. You're like, yeah, that was me yesterday or whatever, because it's usually traffic type stuff or someone being inconsiderate, but maybe not on purpose or right. Something small. It's the small things that kind of catch you off guard a lot of the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're expecting someone to be thoughtful, respectful, or kind, and they're not. Yeah.
Next question. Wasted Millennium says, question. No, that's a good thing. It's a question. Did you guys check out the quantum computers chip yet? If so, thoughts? I love and appreciate you guys. Good work. Thank you. Thank you, Wasted Millennium. I personally have looked into this quite a bit. It's an interesting thing. It's got to be very isolated. It's got to be at very cold temperatures. It's got to be under these very specific requirements to work. And though it's theorized how this is working through multiple dimensions and whatnot, it's not exactly been verified. It very well could be just little tricks they're using on a standard chip to make it seem as if it's doing just a little bit more. So there's a lot of controversy surrounding what is actually going on in the quantum chips. Of course, we know the quantum theory side of it and the quantum physics that could be going into it, but definitely still a learning experience when it comes to the quantum computers. What about you guys? You guys know anything about these quantum chips?
Are we talking about like the older like qubit technology?
Yes.
Okay, that has to be like absolute zero. Versus I've heard about newer technology that's coming out that could operate at room temperature.
Really?
And that the price would come down dramatically. I don't know too much about it, but I definitely know that in the computer world, like this is something that could hold a lot of like potential. Like we need everything to be even faster, right? So, but yeah, so I'm not sure what exactly quantum chip we're talking about here, but there continues to be different advances in technology. And like you said, what you might call a quantum chip may not actually be a true quantum chip. It just depends on what technology is being labeled that way.
So that zero temperature one is like what they're using in the D-Wave computers out of that company in Canada. And where they're aiming to go, I haven't seen the new ones, but I've heard lots of talk about it, like getting it more to the way nature does quantum computing, which is in a warm, wet, noisy environment. And the goal, of course, would be to get quantum computers to be able to match that. But we always try to match nature. We seldom actually do it. So you have a good point there, Jerry. We're not even sure. The existing D-Wave computer chips, not everybody agrees that they may be fully working with quantum qubit technologies. Of course, the people at D-Wave would say that they are. So I don't know.
There's been a huge controversy in the scientific circles about what is actually going on there. Something that I've been following quite closely. Not determined yet one side or the other, so this is still an open question. Go ahead, Shane.
I was just going to say I was struck by the parallel, if you will, of the right and the left brain that we have. Our left brain is kind of like the digital ones or zeros side of things, where our right side's more of the quantum computer, where we access deeper knowledge, and how they were pushing our computers to be more right brain while pushing us to be more left brain. If you really think about this, it's really deep. You can really go down the rabbit hole on just thinking about this, where they're trying to push computers and where they're trying, or ways they're trying to control us and the direction we're going. Because, I found that the Mandela Effect messages were kind of telling us to bring balance in, the left and the right, that we were just kind of out of whack. But yeah, that's sort of where I am with the quantum computer thing. I think we already have one, way better than that. And we should probably tap into the one that we already have rather than waiting to order one off of Amazon.
Right. Yeah. Especially if they're doing what some think they're doing and causing the Mandela effect, that you definitely don't want everybody to have one of these in their home, right? The reality itself would just become Swiss cheese at that point, I do believe. Adam Ant says, love the painting behind you, Dark Den. So I've got two paintings really quick. I need to brag. I've got this one, this dark wolf with the dream catcher behind it and the sun and moon at the bottom. And then I've got this one that looks so much like my theme for my radio show with the wolf on the cliff back there and the full moon and all that. Thank you to Heather and JoJo's from the backstage at the Rippin' Rabbit Hole for those. They sent them to me. I am so in love with both of these. As a matter of fact, I opened the one on the back wall and they told me there were two of them. It didn't matter. Once I opened that one, I fell so much in love with it. I forgot I even had a second one to open, which ended up being this one here. Both of them absolutely gorgeous. Thank you so much for that compliment, Adam. I am so proud of them myself. And again, shout out to those that got both these tapestries for me from the backstage lounge. Now, moving on, now that I'm done bragging, Tyrell Core says, this is more of a request for reassurance than a question, guys. Everything's going to be okay, yes?
Oh, yeah. Yes. I think that's the whole point of what we're talking about, that even though it looks like we're coming to the end of one world and going into another, that it's going to be okay. It's been okay before. I think the definition of okay, though, depends on recognizing that you may be letting go of some of the things that you've gotten attached to in a sort of habitual sense, or maybe the way the world used to be. I think we'll be moving into a higher order way of thinking, not new world order, but I mean true higher order, having to do with our own spiritual strength and connections with nature, with each other, with ourselves, and the evolutionary path that we're taking. So, but I'm a quantum optimist, so I'm always looking to expect how good can it get. That's the question to keep asking, and that's that song that just came out this last month too. How good can it get? That's a guiding light to keep looking for and finding those realities.
I would like to add, you guys have convinced me as we've done these shows that there is a golden timeline, that there is purity coming to the earth. If you just look at the earlier part of the show as we went over with the Mandanimals and the meanings behind those, I can definitely tell you everything is going to be okay. To borrow a line from a certain letter from the alphabet that everybody has heard of, I'm sure, darkness to light, sometimes you have to tread through the dark to appreciate what is coming on the other side. You have to go through the bad to enjoy the good, if you will. That is my opinion. I think everything is going to be more than okay. Chris, what do you say on that?
I say what Bob Marley said. Everything's gonna be all right. So if you need some confidence, listen to that Bob Marley song. But I think things might get a little bumpy and the world's going a little crazy, but it's got to, for everything to be all right. So we're just passing through. We're just passing through. Be the observer. Stay in neutrality, sacred neutrality. Don't get worked up like, I hate this government, I hate that government, I blah blah blah. Like no, just don't. Just like keep yourself as neutral as possible, and just look at like you're watching a play, like you're watching a movie on a screen or something unfold, where you already know the ending's going to be good, but you're going through the rough spot right now. That's the way I would look at it.
Even though I got that song stuck in my head, by the way. Not a bad song to be stuck in your head. Every little thing's gonna be all right. I fully agree. And Shane looks like he has stepped off there for a minute. There you are,
I'm
Shane. Welcome back. Just in time for me to throw the question to you. What do you think about this? Is everything going to be okay?
Oh, same question. Yeah, everything's going to be okay. Definitely.
Yeah.
You know me. I'm like Cynthia. I'm definitely the quantum optimist. How good can it get?
And I find myself asking myself that question every single day, folks. How good can it get? Let me tell you, pretty darn good. Pretty darn good indeed. Any new Mandela effects lately? I apologize. Effects lately. I couldn't resist reading that as it was written. Anybody run across any new Mandela effects lately?
Well,
I've been having personal stuff happening. Like I'll work on music, and then the next day I'll listen to it. And I'm like, that is not how I left that. You just know. Especially with music, where you have to listen to things over and over and over again and make tweaks and stuff. You're like, wait a minute, there's no way I could have missed that. So anyway, yeah, personal things, nothing I could really point out. As being a big change.
Yeah, and don't forget there's also the categories. Like, are we talking about geography? Are we talking about art? Are we talking about pop culture? Are we talking about brands? And like, are we talking about people's last names? Like Zelensky keeps changing all the time. So a lot of what this show was bringing forward, like things that were like for a lot of us, like recent blue Sphinx cats, like is that a Mandela effect? So yeah, a lot of things we've been talking about are talking about new ones that we've been spotting. And there's so many people making videos, doing great work, like song lyrics changing, whatever it is, boom, 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 boom. So that you don't have to look that far to actually start to find some. So there's a lot of good channels out there. Subscribe to their channels and you'll get overwhelmed with Mandela effects. So that's what I'd like to say.
Yeah, this show was packed with them. We had a bunch of them. The coccyx bone with the holes in it was new for me. We had lots of them in this show so far. But like, I'm just mostly, as usual, noticing personal ones primarily. That's the ones where I get them every single day, and sometimes now almost real time. Like you look away, you look back, like, well, that's different.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I just didn't recognize it first time. No, I recognize it. It ain't what it was.
Yeah.
Right, but doesn't that really speak to how far we've come? And just because normally, most people would just blow it off like, oh, I'm mistaken, but you start to be like, well, it's clearly happening. It's like, how many times do I brush this off? You know what I mean?
How many grains of sand, right? How many times am I going to be mistaken before I start to wonder, is it really me?
Right. Yeah. And it helps to have other people that remember things the way you remember it too. So real thankful for the whole community.
Yeah.
And one last question before we close out here, folks, as we've gone over the 3-hour mark and we are really pushing the bounds. So last question. T. Taylor says, Mandela effects, closing stores. I've had experiences of stores, for example, restaurants shutting down, but this didn't happen to others. Anyone experience this?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I've seen hours on businesses change. And I mentioned that in my book, Reality Shifts, when consciousness changes the physical world. And it's also a very common reality shift that people report to me, and have reported over the last 20 years. It's very common. So, the shutdowns of stores and businesses, they might be closed and like having a holiday or they're doing a build out or a reconstruction. But for other people, it's open, or you might even notice it. Like the hours are completely wildly different than they used to be. So I've experienced that quite a lot myself. Not recently so much. It's kind of like when I wrote Reality Shifts, I was noticing all these different types of reality shifts. So that was a big one. And then it's like, okay, I got that one. And then I went to a whole other categories of personal Mandela effects and reality shifts.
Anybody else have been experiencing this?
I experience new things, like new companies that I've never heard of before, that I think I should have heard of them, that just like were never in my reality before. So sometimes I see like the opposite of that. Instead of things closing and someone saying, oh, it never closed or never opened, I'm seeing like brand new companies that have been around for a while that should have been on my radar that just never were. So I see things that way.
Yeah.
Or big changes. We had one Harvest Bank, which is like harvest without an H. and someone pointed out that it used to be Harvest at one point. I was like, oh yeah, I remember taking a check over to Harvest Bank. Now it's Harvest Bank. So yeah. So yeah, some of them I don't even realize till someone mentions it, and I'm like, wait a minute, I remember that. It's just, if you go once to a bank to cash a check that you got like a decade ago, you're not really going to remember it until someone brings it up, and you're like, oh yeah, I had to find a Harvest Bank, but now it's Harvest. So that's a trip.
Yeah.
One thing that's becoming a theme in the reality shifters community that I mentioned in my newsletter is people finding clothing items that are in their personal possession as if they'd always been there. And these people hold the shirt up or they show the picture and they say, I have never seen this shirt in my life. And that's very interesting. So that's a new thread of type of personal reality shift that seems to be on
no
the rise.
pun intended, right? When talking about clothing, a new thread.
But I mean, okay, so we've all had the socks disappear out of the dryer, right? Are we gonna be on the receiving end now and start getting like these extra socks in our drawers, extra shirts in our dryers that came out of
I
another
have run
dimension,
across shirts before that I did not have any recollection of buying, owning, or having, yet there they are in my drawer. So I have experienced that too.
It's funny when they look well worn, or you see a picture where it's prominently showing and you're wearing it. Like, what? Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
I fully agree. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we are running way out of time. I know that we have really went over that 3-hour mark. So any closing statements you guys would like to throw out there real quick?
Oh, thank you for joining us, and thanks for just sharing your time with us, asking questions, being part of this community, and just helping us, bring in this new golden age. We're doing it together. We're choosing it together.
Yeah.
Yep. I wanted to say too, October 21st to 23rd, I'm going to be going down to Orlando to something called the Galactic and Spiritual Convention, which is kind of cool. It's being held at the DoubleTree Hotel. And I'm not part of that. I mean, I'll be attending the convention, but I also rented like a little conference room on Saturday night. So if anyone's interested in meeting me and my friend Sean Bond and some other people, we can all meet up there. Send me an email so I know that, like, Chris@quantumbusinessman.com if you think you might make it. So we could plan for that, because right now we just have a small conference room that could hold about 20 people. So we'll see how many people show up for that. But if you'd like to meet me in person, I'll be down there.
An exclusive meet and greet with the quantum businessman himself, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. Mark your calendars. Orlando, Florida, October 21st to the 23rd. On the screen now, Chris at quantumbusinessman.com if you would like to contact him and let him know you would like to meet up and hang out a little bit. I'm sure they're going to be incredible conversations. I know they were when I had the pleasure of sitting and speaking to Chris myself. Shane, you like to add anything? What's that?
I said, and Sean.
And Sean, absolutely,
and Sean Bond. We'll do a Q&A, speak some light language, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Awesome. I think you'll be there too, Chris, with that gentleman on the other channel that interviewed you.
Yes, Chad from Open Your Realities. He's going to be there. Yeah. He's actually going to be filming it. So if you can't make it, we should be able to edit some footage and put some stuff together there as well. Absolutely.
Very nice. That is awesome.
We're going to hold a thought for good weather, for next month.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah, definitely stay safe in your travels, Chris, as all of our thoughts will be with you, my friend.
Thank you.
Producer Heather, could I have you just at least, maybe not on camera, but pop your little icon on the screen real quick? I'd really appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, this lady here has done an absolutely incredible job behind the scenes. She's the glue that holds it all together. She's the one that is got our slides for us all the time, right on cue. She's the one that pulls up everything you see on screen. She holds us together back here. She is what makes this show possible and run as smoothly as it does, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to just take a moment and thank you, Heather, for everything that you do for us. Round of applause for Heather, ladies and gentlemen. Great job behind the scenes. We appreciate all the work you do. I don't mention you enough. I don't bring you out enough. Would you like to say anything real quick? I know you're a little shy on these live shows.
Okay, we'll take that as a no.
I don't blame you whatsoever. Ladies and gentlemen, Heather, our producer, such an amazing person, does such an amazing job. On behalf of producer Heather, Christopher Anatra, Cynthia Sue Larson, Shane Robinson from Unbiased and On the Fence, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. Together, we are the International Mandela Effect Conference. And remember, until next we meet, ladies and gentlemen, together we go.
Together we grow.
Together we grow. Here, here. Bye, guys. Love
Love you
you
guys.
all.
Bye. Love you all.
Bye.